task breakdown.
So, Jake, which items are we going through first? All these?
Oh,
first?
you're live. Item 1, 2, and 3,
Okay.
and then 4.
Good evening, everybody. Today's Monday, just September 27th, 2021, 6:30 PM. It's a special meeting tonight. We have the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen, FAA, and the Capital Improvement Committee. The first thing we always do is we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 2 in the agenda, we have from the water sewer, we have Jeff Faulkner's here from Ty and Bond, and he's requesting some signatures for some projects.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sullivan.
you want to let water sewer, they have a quorum, are they having is there a quorum with them, or the finance board open their meeting too, or?
I was supposed to go through ours and then open theirs, that's what. Do you want to have them open theirs?
Well, I mean, technically, you opened it for everyone, so.
Okay.
Except we don't have to do it all, well, we usually do, right?
Okay.
Like the planning board last time, they opened.
Take it away, Jeff.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Jeff Faulkner from Ty and Bond, working on the PFAS water treatment plant project for the town. At last May's town meeting, the town voted to move forward with the design and construction of this treatment plant. We are currently designing it, and we're approaching the phase of the project where some papers need to be processed with the state to stay on the funding list. So what we're asking tonight is the selectmen vote to authorize the town administrator to sign those upcoming forms to move the process forward with some upcoming deadlines, the first being October 15th. So if you should have in front of you a authority to file form, and it would be a request to vote that the Dudley PFAS water treatment plant and associated water main project, DW SRF 6854, be allowed to be signatures by the town administrator.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Board members, any questions for Jeff?
No brainer, Mr. Chair, we have a professional town administrator, we should give him the authority to act on that, yeah.
Okay. It is the board's pleasure then.
Chair, make a motion that the town administrator hereby authorized on behalf of the applicant to file applications and execute agreements with grant and loan assistance, as well as furnishing such information, data, and documents pertaining to the application for a grant or loan as required.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Any other discussion? There's a little bit more to that motion.
That wasn't the whole motion, was it? Was it just a guideline?
It says and otherwise.
Otherwise, to act as authorized representative of the applicant in connection with the application.
Might as well,
The purpose of the said loan, if awarded, is to fund construction activities, that if said award is made, the applicant agrees to pay those costs, which constitute the required applicant share of the project costs. Amend my motion to include.
thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Okay with you, Kerry?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, let's call that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Item number 3, we have a public hearing for the Board of Selectmen before we kick it over to the Capital Improvement and FAA. Chair will open this public hearing at 6:39 PM. Mr. Ruda, kick us off on that.
Michelle, this was referred to us by the fire department?
No,
Oh, I can-
actually,
So this is a request from Mace Polymers and Additives, Inc., and they're requesting to grant a license in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 13, and 527 CMR 14 to store flammable fluids, solids, or gases on the property located at 38 Roberts Road, 6,000-gallon tanks filled to 80%. Is anybody here from Mace Polymers and Additives?
We've never done this before, that's why I'm.
From the propane company? Okay, can you come up to the, sorry, Rick can hear you, thanks. Just identify yourself and where
Yeah.
you're from.
Good evening. My name is Paul DeLeo from DeLeo Gas. We're located out of Worcester. We're
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry, yeah.
We are proposing for the 6 1,000 gallon above ground propane tanks. That's been reviewed by the fire department. It's a large business up there that requires that amount of storage for the amount of heating systems that they have in there. But the fire department has reviewed it, and the flammable storage permit should be in front of you folks. If you haven't reviewed it yet. Anything over 2,000 gallons is required to get the flammable storage license from the town. So that's the reason why we're here today.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. DeLeo. Fire Chief, any, you wanna come up, just?
Yeah, I'm sure you're aware that as he said, the permitting was already taken care of or will be taken care of, correct, Paul? Correct. But the licensing has to go through the clerk's office and approved by the selectmen, even though it's in the fire code, because it requires a license.
License, okay.
Yeah.
Mr.
But
Sullivan?
everything's is in order, so.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Go ahead.
How often, is it a periodic inspection to make sure everything stays up to code for that?
Well, they have to renew, what is it, annually? Yeah, both things, the permitting and the licensing, well, the permitting's only once.
Licensing is singular.
Right, so now, once he has the license, that's good forever. And now that he'll have to renew, they have to renew the permits annually, so yeah, we'll go up there once a year and check it out.
That's similar to what you do for, if I may, to like, gas stations or the other people have propane, once a year you inspect those?
It's a little different for residential. Residential's
gas
one
stations.
time.
No, like gas
we don't-
stations that have the propane tanks, that fill the small tanks?
They're annual as well.
Okay.
You mean like the Blue Rhino type thing?
No, like, I hate to name businesses, but Oxford Ave, Arts, Texaco, or used to be Arts.
Yeah, they're all permitted. It's
And once
all,
a year?
it's all annual, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. And this is just propane, right? Okay. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add from the audience? Nothing? Okay. I'm gonna close the public hearing at 6:41 PM. What is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, grant the request, license in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 148, subsection 13, 527 CMR 14.00, for Mace Polymer Additives, Inc., the application by DeLeo Gas, or presentation by DeLeo Gas.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Sullivan, the chair, Mr. Johnson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's call that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. I'll sign this now. Today is,
27.
thank you. Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. All right, now I'm going to hand the gavel to my good friend Mike Mayotte, the chairman of the.
No. Other side.
So my good, up to my left side, my other good friend, Mark Landry, chairman of the capital improvement, and he'll run this part. Mr. Landry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start off with an amendment from our springtime meeting, number 3. Everybody has that amendment. So the original on the first page, the amendment on the second.
Yep.
And Mr. Chairman,
You don't have
and the
The
changes?
Scrivener's error? Okay.
Changes from 150,000 each to 350,000 total.
Okay. Oh, I see now.
No, maybe not.
I don't think I have that, Mr. Chair. Is it on the warrant?
That's for the capital
It's in
improvement
capital.
portion
Oh,
of it.
we don't have it?
Following along. It's this one.
The amount
The 350?
Yes,
The total.
total, instead of 150 each. Need a motion to accept that?
Yeah. Good. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
this was part of the compliance. The Springtown meeting voted to approve $350,000. Capital Improvement voted to accept the proposal from the Highway Commissioner, Superintendent, excuse me, for the $350. In the minutes, it said $150 each. So we want to make sure that everything lines up. Bond council likes those things.
Okay.
I'd ask whoever's making the motion, read the correction, just for simplicity's sake.
Okay.
What exactly you're looking for on the motion, Rich?
Probably to read what the original was and now with the amendment for the motion and second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we had our meetings.
This is just the correction I screwed up.
Jeff Murray, Highway Superintendent, came forward for $350,000. He was purchasing 2 units at $175. It was approved essentially as submitted. The minutes reflected something else. There was no motion made to reduce the amount submitted or anything, to my recollection. So it should have been as submitted, the 350, for the authorization for the 175. And everybody realizes this is almost duplicitous in that it's a reimbursement for Chapter 90 funds, which is a state aid reimbursement note as opposed to a regular borrowing. We put it on to be belt and suspenders on it, and of course, this is the one where there's the bump.
So then, if this is acceptable here, I'll motion to allow the highway superintendent to purchase 2 dump truck chassis totaling $350,000.
No,
Is that it? To amend?
to amend the meeting minutes.
Right.
All right, so I'll move to amend the meeting minutes to reflect the purchase of the dump truck chassis for a total of $350,000.
After this, you want to open your public hearing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George. All right.
Capital Improvement, George's?
Yeah. I'd like to open up public hearing, capital improvement, Board of Selectmen at this time. What do you have for time, sir?
647.
6:47. At this time, I'd ask the fire chief to come up. If you just want to give a briefing, sir.
Under A, sorry.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, good evening. I sent all of you my updated capital plan last week. You all got it. I made some adjustments to it based on the fact that we received a used vehicle. As you know, in the original plan, we had the replacement of engine 2 and engine 3 on there. Engine 2, we had found a used vehicle for $43,500. It kind of fell into our lap last minute. We went up and inspected it over the springtime last spring. Turned out to be a really good deal. As you're aware, a new engine 2 would roughly cost $650,000. So, and we also have to replace engine 3, which is our rescue pumper, which is another $740,000, somewhere in that range. So potentially, if the town approved those 2 vehicle purchases down the road, we've saved the town roughly just over $600,000 over the next 7 to 10 years. So I adjusted my plan to reflect that. Engine 2 was moved down to 5, and I just put it in 5 for the time being, which is FY '27. It can probably be moved to probably FY '29. And something else can be put there, because by that time, you'll probably looking at another ambulance purchase. But anyway, so that means currently we own, the biggest ticket item we have to replace is engine 3. And we have the command vehicle on for FY '23, which is next spring, summertime. And the radio system upgrade under 4, that's under my capital plan, but that would probably be a town-wide thing after speaking with the administrator, because that's gonna involve the radio systems for all 4 agencies. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them.
That sounds good, Chief. So the next purchase you're looking at for 2023 fiscal year would be the command vehicle?
Yeah, and just as a reminder, we decided not to put anything on the docket for FY '22. We skipped a year because we understood the impacts of COVID, and so we sat that round out. The command vehicle I have now is approaching 8 years old. It has 100,000 miles on it. It's time for a replacement. I'm just following the capital plan I've been following. I mean, I did make some adjustments to it, like I said, but we've potentially knocked $600,000 off our plan and replaced it with $56,000 for the car. So, and we purchased a used engine out of budgeted funds through some help with the town administrator.
And Mr. Chairman, I think Mike remembers, I don't know if you were at the meeting, but we had a meeting to make sure that we had this new request for the used engine
Right.
go before the capital improvement committee
Yep.
and get approved.
No, that was a fantastic buy. The price we got for that.
And was that done?
It's been purchased, right, Chief?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going with George and another member of the department to look at it tomorrow. It's in Hopkinton. It's had all the work done to it that we wanted done to it, just minor repairs.
Are you switching the tires there too, or?
The tires are different size, so I won't be able to do that. That was one thing. They were one size off, so. But the tires on it aren't that bad. I could probably get a couple years out of them. Lost my train of thought now.
I want my money back.
Then it'd be what, engine 3, then the service truck, and then system upgrade, then engine 2? Down the road?
Yeah, well, even engine 2, that can probably be taken out of number 5. I would probably put an ambulance in there, but really, right now, I just put that as a placeholder. I really don't have anything for number 5, because
Understood.
you wanted a 5-year plan, so that's what I gave you. But that would most likely be an ambulance for a third of that price, because engine 2 can probably be moved down a couple more years now,
Okay.
depending on how this used truck works out. But we're very optimistic that it was a good purchase and that it'll give us the 7 to 10 years. But engine 3's in really rough shape. I just spent $8,000 putting springs on it. I mean, it's 26 years old, so, and it's our rescue pumper, so, and it's always got electrical problems. It's caught on fire once already, so.
Did it put itself out?
No, we put it out.
Is that good for
Fire
your
on the
money?
second floor.
But on the pump, all right.
Great plan.
Like I said, I try to do an updated one for you guys every year. I know we have the master plan now, which is great, but I mean, because of these unforeseen things, they change. So I understand it's always a working document. The service truck is in really good condition. It's used to pull the safe house and a bunch of other trailers, but I mean, for 2011, it's in phenomenal shape. We really take good care of it. but you're talking, it's probably 3-4 years away, as we have it now, because even the command vehicle, if it's approved at town meeting, you're not looking to get that for another 1.5 years anyway, by the time it's delivered and everything, so.
Right.
Because then it's voted on in June, and then you're waiting another 3 or 4 months for the vehicle, so you're talking at least a year from now before the vehicle's even in the building, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, after the hearing, we'll take a vote on everything as we go through the items.
Now, any of these vehicles, like command vehicle, and when the time comes, do you trade them in or sell them, or?
Most of the time, it's a one-for-one exchange, and as you're aware, or may be aware, I don't know if you remember, I've downsized the fleet considerably since I've become chief there. We were actually 4 less vehicles than we had when I originally came on as chief 10 years ago. In this instance, my vehicle would either go down to the assistant chief, or it would become a training vehicle or an inspection vehicle, so we don't have to take the pickup everywhere, because it gets like 8 miles to the gallon, so.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, it could be put into the town fleet, possibly?
Well, I'm gonna use it for the fire department. As I just stated, it would become an inspection vehicle.
You currently have an inspection vehicle?
No.
Oh.
We have one in the contracts, but I always bypassed it because I understood the town was strapped for money, so we kinda agreed that where Paul lives so close that it was okay to put it off for a couple years. You know, we're always trying to play ball.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Anybody else? Mike?
No, I'm just, so Dean, the was it Explorer?
Correct.
It's got everything you need in it?
Which one we talking
Is the
about?
one you got, we got the quote from MHQ.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually put less into it than my original one. I didn't get any command board for it in the back. It's just a vehicle. As you can see, it goes line item by line item. That includes the radio installation, the siren, and the light package. And other than that, it's just a Explorer.
And it's, this quote's good for 60 days.
It says that on there, but he said it would probably stand until the spring.
Okay.
Excellent. Anybody else? Thank you, chief.
Thanks.
Next is police chief.
Mr. Chairman, the police chief and the fire chief are requesting to adjust the previously approved procurement of 1 police cruiser for FY '22. The CIP approved that, and add 1 replacement cruiser as FY '23 through FY '26, and 1 fire chief vehicle in FY '23. Total of 5 additional vehicles, and this has been done in the past, where we've passed an article at town meeting to do a steady replacement over the course of 4 or 5 years.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proposal was to do a debt exclusion plan like we did a few years back. If you might recall, we put aside, I believe, $150,000. I think it was $50,000 a year over 3 years. That was voted on a debt exclusion plan. It was very low cost on the tax rate as it went through, and it enabled us to be able to plan and budget for these vehicles to get in promptly. Because as you know, these vehicles aren't just something you can drive down to the lot and pick it up and have it ready in a week. It's probably going to be about a 6-month turnaround time between ordering it and actually getting it. So that process would really enable us that right around the first of the year, we would put an order in and we'd have take delivery of the vehicle probably in June. So that really helps. Right now, we're at a stage where we have not replaced a police cruiser, I believe, since the spring of 2019. So we're over 2 years now where these are out. Normally, we rotate these vehicles one per year, and we can either, depending on what shape they're in, trade them. We can repurpose them through the town. A few different options we can have. We actually took one of our marked cars and stripped it down and made a detective vehicle out of it, because that one was starting to get older and it was still in somewhat decent shape, so we were able to kind of repurpose it for that. But we're trying to make do with what we can. But we really have to get on that plan to replace a vehicle per year and just roll them through and get them done. So that's what this plan is going to do, so hopefully it's successful again. Just takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, makes plans a lot smoother, and everything just kind of carries over from year to year. With the changes in both style of vehicles, equipment that's in there, you can move some items back and forth, like you may be able to save a radio from something over, but a lot of times cages or consoles or storage cabinets and other things that go into these vehicles, computer mounts. There's now printers for electronic citations. There's so many other things that go into these vehicles now. A lot of the equipment has to be new to go in and kind of fit the new shapes of these vehicles as they have them. So that's why the cost kind of runs up on some of these as it goes on. But I can answer any questions if you have them.
Anybody have any questions for the chief? Yes, sir.
Chief, do you see any new technology changes coming down the pipe, or is it gonna stay pretty much the same?
As far as the actual vehicle itself, or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think you might see cameras of some sort coming in at some point, so it could either be video cameras, certainly body cameras are talked about, but I think car video cameras are a possibility as they go through. But again, between computers, there's printers now that are in these vehicles, the console mounts between the radios, the storage racks for all the other equipment we have. Most of them we've downsized now to a single prisoner cage in the back as opposed to a full one, so that we can get more use of the space out of those vehicles that are there. I think the biggest thing is that they've been changing vehicles from year to year. Ever since they got rid of the Crown Victoria that was there for 100 years almost, they started experimenting with which vehicles are going to be the ones to go. And so even as they modify those, styles change and different things change. But again, more equipment comes in and is necessary for it. So is there anything earth-shattering? I don't think so. But between laptops and everything else like that we have them now, it takes up some space.
So no Tesla?
I don't know if a Tesla will be coming with that, so.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
to the chief, Chief, going forward, would it be prudent and proactive to put dashboard cameras in them anyway, whether or not they're so-called required? I mean, we've all seen the videos where it helps both sides, but it helps, definitely an extra layer of protection for the
Oh,
officers.
it definitely, we had them before. I thought they were very effective. Biggest thing is its cost. Between not only just the equipment itself, but then it's data storage, records retention, everything else that kind of goes with that. That's one of the issues. Same thing with body cameras going on. You almost need a full-time person to be able to go through it, screen it, and save it, and catalog it, and everything else that you have as it goes forward. The reason we had dash cameras before was because we had a lot of community policing money. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, community policing money was prevalent, and we were able to upgrade a lot of things at that point. But then after 9/11, a lot of that got pulled out. And so now we're looking at also, too, the challenges of the reforms. So the training requirements, we have all of our part-timers now have to go through another academy that's coming up. Different things there. We're going through accreditation that happens now, so the agency's got to be certified. So there's a lot of things in there that's like unknown costs, and the state hasn't really given us any extra money and says, hey, here's a pot of money, go do it. They're just saying, here's the things, you guys figure it out. So love to go down that road and go into that program, but I think it's, again, cost, and you have to have the right people to kind of run it, because you have to have the right technologically savvy people to be able to take care of all that stuff.
Well, just on a informational purpose, when you come forward with your proposal, can you just provide information, standalone document? This is what it would cost to order the car with.
Oh, for a dash mounted camera?
Just to give us an idea.
Yeah, I can get it. I think we probably would have to do is, you kind of have to build it from, the inside out, because you're going to have the servers dedicated for it and everything else that kind of goes. So the actual camera in the car itself is not a lot of money, but the infrastructure to build the whole network would be. I can get some prices on it. I'll just look at some places that have done it recently.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Anybody
President.
else? Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Oh, Mr. Mayo?
Yeah, hi, Chief.
Good thing I was on the clock. I almost got out of there.
For fiscal year 2022, you're still looking at that 2021 Interceptor?
Yeah, I think what we're going to look to do at this point is because I think there's an article on the warrant, is we're going to look to change it to a lease and be able to lease that vehicle. And at least that way I'll get this, that's kind of like a patch to get something going for right now. And then, yeah, the rest would be the purchases from that point on.
Okay.
But I think it'd go over the next 4 years
Which,
after that.
it looks, I mean, it looks by the number you put that you're looking at the enterprise lease versus the MHQ.
Well, I think I could look at either of them, really. I didn't see what the final figure was as far as a dollar amount, because I know they were including, I think, the fire chief's vehicle or something in that mix too, so I don't know what the total per year figure was that was finally settled upon. But as far as the lease for this vehicle, I think we were able to look at it, would be able to use some other funds if we needed to cover any other overages with that, either between the cruiser funds or some other funds that are available for it. So we should be able to cover that overage. We just figured that $15,000 was a good placeholder for that amount. We're really anticipating it to be around $20,000, but we think we can find that the balance in other accounts.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Mike, I've got that, when we get to the FAA part, I've got it kind of broken down that I can talk about a little bit in that warrant to transfer some money and to show what the lease would cost and how much the price
Yeah, I was just
budget would.
looking, because he had submitted just a couple of nice lease quotes. One from the MHQ didn't look like much of a lease, though. Kind of looked like a 3-payment, own the car.
Yeah, basically three. That's kind of what they are. Most of them are 3 year. Most of them are 3 year leases as it goes
Yeah,
forward.
Enterprise looked like it was a buyout at the end of the.
Yeah, that's, and I think the enterprise thing too is something to look at probably on a townwide basis, because they have a lot of vehicles that are both, they deal with a lot of, pickup trucks and, other vehicles that other departments might use, and it might be something that's valuable. We would begin looking for an SUV going on that line, but it would be something that's definitely something to look at townwide for those types of vehicles. I think you get a good bang for your buck out of it.
There was on the quote, they came in, there was nothing put in. Well, it said 0. Is there a mileage overcharge for those? Because we put a lot of miles on those.
The MHQ lease, no. I think the enterprise one, there would be something, but it wouldn't be that much, because they kind of space it out. Basically, when they give you the quote ahead of time, that's basically what they hold, unless there's something really dramatic with it. They don't again charge you for anything for wear and tear or scratches, nicks, dents, anything else of that nature, because they kind of realize those vehicles are getting beaten up all the time. So they have a few things, I think, in there, but I think it depended on exactly how you worded it. But it's not like the average, personal lease. You go out and say, I'm only going to put 10,000 miles a year on it, and
Right, yeah.
here's what it is.
100,000 miles on this. And
Yeah.
we got
Once
it
you
printed in
basically
36.
set a price on it, you're going to agree on a buyback price, and they kind of would follow your fleet and know how much you're going to be using your vehicles per year, and they basically make their price upon that, because they're looking at it if after 3 years or 4 years you either went to buy it or they want to take it back and sell it and credit you the money. How much can they get it on a resale? That's what they're looking at it for. So.
Excellent. Anything else? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Chief, thank you for doing the homework. Remember, we're still borrowing money at cutthroat rates. We're under 1%, so we want to think total cost for that. And for everyone that's here, whether we buy something or we lease something, it's a material event. We need to report it. Remember, a year ago, we went through and signed all of those documents. We want to make sure that whether it's a lease, whether it's a borrowing, the FA over at Unibank wants to go through and say, we have this obligation. So whether we paid the 60 up front, paid it in cash, paid it in 3, it's still something that counts against our bottom line. So it's good to have a lot of options.
Yeah, I'm fine with borrowing if you want to do that, however it wants to work. I am not locked into anything specific, so.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Next, look at the highway superintendent
And me.
and the town administrator.
Mr. Chairman, up on the screens, I don't think that the FAA and the Capital Improvement Committee have seen this yet. This is our complete streets prioritization list. Try to give you the quick version of this. We are approved now to apply for the Complete Streets funding, grant funding package by order of priority, because we actually, through the planning board, completed this prioritization list. But when I was first hired, I went and took the grant training to make us eligible for it. We kicked it over to the planning board, and they formed the Complete Streets Committee and worked with MassDOT to come up with this prioritization list, which brings us to today. As everyone is quite aware, we have a water and sewer infrastructure project going on right now on Mason Road. This prioritization list was approved and submitted after our Springtown meeting, which means that we are now grant eligible to apply for grants. So we missed FY '22 first bite of the apple before the Springtown meeting, but we are eligible to receive grant funding for Complete Streets in FY '22. And it just so happens, if you look at items 2, see if I can make it bigger. Items 2 and 3 are sidewalks for Mason Road. Now, Mason Road is currently not complete and has not received its finish coat yet, and won't until the spring, which is a perfect opportunity for us to take advantage of the grant funding in FY '22, put in the sidewalks, and to address some stormwater issues, drainage issues there. So eventually, when we go through the normal process next year, this entire plan will be given to the Capital Improvement Committee to be incorporated into the capital improvement plan. But for this coming town meeting, and this coming, in this fiscal year, I'm asking for approval for me to use for 2 things. The first one is for the engineering for the sidewalks, which are eligible to be covered under the federal funds we receive through ARPA. So there'll be no borrowing, no draw from this year's budget. It would be covered by the federal government. And the construction side of it would be covered by the Complete Streets grant funding. It's similar to Chapter 90 reimbursement. So we would put the money out. I presume we would borrow for it, very short term, and they would pay us before the end of FY '22. We put in for the reimbursement for that. So we have an opportunity here. That's why it was unanticipated at the time. That's why I'm submitting it now and asking the Capital Improvement Committee to amend the plan to include Mason Road sidewalks, engineering, and construction, according to the Complete Streets Prioritization Program.
Excellent, anybody? Mike?
Jonathan, what's the estimated engineering cost on that?
Well, it would have to go out to competitive bid, but it would be up to, I'd be asking for up to $80,000.
And what's construction side?
Well, up to $400,000.
Up to?
Up to
And that-
$400,000.
Is that what the grant goes up to, or is it?
That's what this prioritization plan is estimated the cost would be.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
to the administrator, that's the widening of the path that exists between the fire station and Mason Road, and then sidewalks from Mason Road to Jesse Road or Meadow Lane?
So I guess I'll, just to clarify, there's 2 things that we're gonna be looking at. One is kind of for the FAA, because it's a draft article that actually came in today. That I haven't even had a chance to put it on the warrant. It came in so soon. I mean, such a last minute. Up to 400, so the construction portion, up to 400,000 for the construction of sidewalk on the north side of Mason Road from the Mason Road Elementary School to Meadow Lane, widening of the existing path from the fire station to the Mason Road Elementary School, and connection of the 2 facilities. And the work may include installation of deep sump infiltration and leaching catch basins, relocation of hydrants, low retaining walls, and manual on-uniform traffic control devices, and Americans with Disability Act compliant crosswalks and pedestrian ramps and roadway pavement markings. So that's the scope of work contained in this draft article that we got.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, so I don't want to get too far down the road, no design yet. Replace existing catch basins or put in new ones as needed, drainage? We're gonna have to wait and see, right?
We'd have to see what the engineer
Okay.
said. I wouldn't even wanna,
Somebody wanted to ask the question.
right. It would be better than it is now.
Right, no, obviously,
Yeah, I was gonna.
much better. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Any questions?
Does this include like a bike lane too?
No, there's a note in there that says bike lane would add to the taking and would cost too much.
It's, you know, widen the road, right?
Well, there's something in the report from,
So, here's the highway superintendent, who's really more of a subject matter expert, and I can dump the rest of the questions on him, Mr. Chairman, if you're interested.
Absolutely. It's the highway.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions, as far as the leaching basins, there are some areas where it's questionable as to whether since we'd be adding a curb and a sidewalk to the roadway, there may be a requirement in some areas to manage that flow, because it would be obstructed from running off on the edge of the road, which it does right now. We may have to install a catch basin here and there, and because of the lack of drainage system on the roadway currently, they'd probably wind up being leaching basins. The pathway from the fire department to the school that exists now would be widened without doing any clearing, and the 3 foot or so paved walkway that's there now would become approximately 12 feet. So you could pass a vehicle through there. It would basically add a secondary egress from the school to the fire station or West Main Street. As far as any other, I don't know if anybody has any other questions.
Any other questions? Comments, concerns? No?
Okay,
Great job. Thank you, sir.
thanks.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no more questions, and there's nobody here from the, residents here that have any more questions, my suggestion in the next item would be to close the public hearing at 7:17 and proceed with the next two items.
Public hearing is now closed, 7:17 PM. So at this time, capital improvement, vote to adjust and approve capital improvement plan based on agenda item 6, or take any other action relative thereto.
you guys have to make that motion, right? Not us.
Just trying to think. So I guess the first motion, Mr. Chairman, would be on the approval of the fire command vehicle, am I correct? We didn't do that.
Yes.
And I did. So, I guess,
And for his amended plan.
yeah, so first I'll move to accept the amended 5-year plan of the fire department.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just, should we have,
Can I make a suggestion?
yes, please do,
So-
save me.
After the capital, if this is not specifically on the motion, it's a question about the item itself. The Board of Selectmen now have to vote after this to accept the amended plan. And that would be that would also be an opportunity for the Selectmen.
I'm worried about conflict of interest. No?
You mean as far as Paul?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay.
We actually checked on that. We did check on that. It has no impact on his financial position. He's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we have
Sir.
spoke about this in past meetings, and the administrator did some research indicating that there would not be any conflict of interest problems here, so.
Okay.
That is the question we asked the last time, and town council stated as long as he has no financial, he has no,
Right.
no ability for financial gain, then he's fine.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can they motion all four of these at once as a group, because it said agenda item 6, so they have to do them individually?
Either way, I think would work. Rich does all the borrowing and so forth, is that? As long as we spell it out, I think we'll be all right.
Should be fine. But you don't want to preclude debate on an item. To go one by one's not a bad deal.
Okay.
Let the debate close with the public hearing.
What's the discussion on the vote, by the voting member?
Right,
Whatever. Let them roll.
right. And seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we approve the purchase of a command fire vehicle in the amount, actually, give me 1 second here to get the amount. And I'm rounding up a little bit, in the amount of $56,000.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Could I ask the motion, just as, Mike, if you could just state the fiscal year purchase in FY '23?
Yeah, I move to approve for fiscal year 2023, the purchase of a command vehicle for the fire department in the amount of up to $56,000.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Police cruisers.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we adopt the new amended five-year plan of the police chief.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a second, do we have
And that
a?
would, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, so that would include purchases through FY '23, FY '24, FY '25, and FY '26.
Could we spell that out in the motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. So we have a motion to adopt five-year plan for fiscal year 23, 24, 25, and 26 for the police chief.
And I so move.
It was motioned by Mr. Mayotte, and it was seconded by George. Do we have any further discussion?
Don't you have to remove the first motion that was approved and seconded, or amended, instead of making a separate motion? Because we have two motions now on the floor, with seconds.
I think it was a clarification,
So just amend it with approval.
yeah, without any objection from the second.
Right. And George, you have no objections to the amended motion?
No.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none? Mike?
I'd just like to add that even though we're approving this going forward, it still would require us to have bids on each vehicle per year to come in. Am I correct on that?
If you're dealing with a state-approved vendor, like MHQ, then you could go ahead. Otherwise, yes, you're right, it would require bids. It has to go through a state-approved vendor.
Yeah, they're all state bid contracts.
Okay.
You got a question, Mr. Cavagnani?
So you approved the fire chief's plan previously, now you're approving the police chief's plan, and then you'll have a separate motion to go through and authorize for fiscal 22, 23, 24, a vehicle and name the dollar amount per? Okay.
So it's two separate motions?
Is that gonna be
Let's
included?
let's dispose of this one, and then we'll specify the cost for the cruises.
For the cost by, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
All right, so in that matter, would repeat what you,
So you've accepted
the plan.
the plan, and it gets worked in with everybody else's
Right.
plan. If you're gonna go forward with a recommendation to borrow, just like the fire chief's vehicle for fiscal '23, you listed a dollar amount and the calendar year to purchase it. Not everything.
It's my, if that's what bond requires, it's my, I was under the impression we're just approving the addition of these things to the plan, and then the FAA approves the source of funding to recommend, and then it's approved at town meeting as to how it's purchased.
Then the fire chief's approval was on top of everything, not included?
Fire chief's approval would be
For a command vehicle?
One command
Was not
vehicle.
previously on the plan?
for his 5-year plan, correct?
Previously on the plan, it was moved.
Okay,
Right.
Right.
thank you.
We
Then it's a moot point.
Okay.
Thank you.
We wouldn't have a dollar figure anyway, 2 or 3 years in advance, right?
No.
They're not gonna lock in a 5-year.
We're gonna aim, okay, right.
So basically,
We're
we're
gonna
just,
aim at a
all we're
certain
approving
dollar.
really is
Outline of
the
the plan.
5-year, amended 5-year plan.
Yes.
Correct, right.
So that's basically.
no
it.
cost.
We don't have to, right, we don't have a
Because
cost.
they'd have to come up at that point.
Yeah, 'cause we don't know what they're gonna.
Chief?
But you're only doing one debt exclusion for the
We haven't
total
got to that
amount.
yet, though.
You're not doing 5 separate debt exclusions.
No, we haven't gotten to that yet. We're
Nowhere near that.
gonna,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's one amount for
right,
Right.
6 vehicles, or however many it is.
right,
Right.
we're approved your amended plan, now we're approving the police department's amended plan.
We're just
Right.
approving the outline.
That's it,
Right.
yeah.
All right.
You want Michelle to read it back to make sure everybody's happy?
Yes.
Would you, Michelle?
So Mike Mayotte, motion to accept the amended 5-year plan for the fire department. George Petrino seconded, unanimous vote. And Mike Mayotte, motion to approve a purchase of a command fire vehicle in the amount of up to $56,000 for fiscal year '23. Paul Konechny, second, unanimous vote. Mike Mayotte then motioned to adopt the amended 5-year plan of the police cruise chief, and including purchases of FY '23, '24, '25, and '26. George P. seconded.
It'll be in the record, the second one's fine, the first one is probably not. But that's fine, we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent. And we voted on that
How come
too.
everybody's so rusty? All right,
Just
so,
slow.
It's online.
now can I have mine?
Yes.
All right.
I'm gonna be asking for two. One is to approve spending for the engineering, no. We'll not approve anything. We're gonna approve adding the engineering cost for FY '22 to the highway plan. And then the second one would be to approve the construction cost for FY '22 to the sidewalk, for the sidewalk construction for the highway plan.
Okay. Anybody wanna give this a crack? I motion that we approve of the Complete Streets Funding Program, rank number 2 and 3, Mason Road sidewalks. The engineering cost of up to $80,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Matt?
Yeah, just a quick question here. So I was kind of looking at the map there. This isn't a very long little stretch. There's nothing else that ranks higher than this?
We get the roads torn up at this point.
Right.
That's why I got moved.
Talking about
Yeah.
fire station that's the first.
It's an evacuation route for the kids too. That's kind of why I got
Yeah,
that
there was some-
priority ranking.
Right, there's priority ranking because it's in the vicinity of the school,
Yeah.
within so many feet of the school, so that
Yeah.
gets a state priority too.
Excellent.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
That's it for me.
One more.
Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Anybody else want to give a crack at this?
What was the last one?
Construction of the sidewalks in FY '22. According to the items 2 and 3 on a complete streets prioritization plan. Motion to add it to the FY '22 capital improvement plan.
Motion to add the construction of the sidewalks fiscal year 2022 on items 1 and 2,
2 and 3.
2 and 3, sorry. Up to $400,000.
And adding it to the highway capital improvement plan.
And added to the highway capital improvement.
Perfect, thank you.
We have motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted.
I appreciate, Mr. Chairman, everybody's patience. There's a lot of fixing and changing that we have to do after the last year or two, and I appreciate everybody's patience with all these changes.
Thank you.
Quickly, Mr. Chairman, through you to the town administrator, the remainder of the complete streets are estimated for next fiscal year, following fiscal year.
They're all listed out on the spreadsheet with rough estimates. And it goes, how long is this plan? It goes by desired construction start date. It's got FY '22, '23. Obviously, we got what we got for '22, '24, '25. Yeah, so it's at least 5 years of additional planning.
Okay.
And my plan was to bring this up in the spring to the capital improvement committee and ask them to incorporate it into the 5-year plan.
Could we do that now? We've accepted 2 and 3. We'll put on 1 through whatever the last one is onto the plan.
As long as the capital improvement committee it's really not even on the agenda, maybe we shouldn't do
Right.
it. I just don't have any details to go into if there are questions, but I think,
Yeah, it's a lot to grasp in the next couple of minutes, so. Maybe the next one.
Sure, absolutely.
okay.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, my recommendation is that the capital improvement committee could adjourn now, and whoever wants to stay should stay. If a lot of people are on the FAA, we could go ahead with the FAA portion of this with Mr. Mayotte.
Well, don't we have to vote to accept as well?
Forward view, you guys have that.
4B,
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
okay. So the Board of Selectmen, we also have to take a vote to accept the recommendations of the Capital Improvement Committee, as voted above, and approve the amended FY '22 Capital Improvement Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
See how easy it is when you do it that way?
Okay. You want to go ahead and close? Adjourn.
At this point, the capital improvement planning committee is adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Good job. All right, item 5, we have another public hearing, the Board of Selectmen and the FAA, co-chaired by Mike Mayotte and myself. And first thing I'm gonna do is open this one at, what is that, 7:35 PM. Mike, you wanna open the FAA meeting, or can we do it just one? That's the joint. Jonathan, does FAA have to open as well?
Well, I think that we opened it's a joint meeting, so
Yep.
we're open.
Hmm?
One, can open this side.
Sure, okay. All right,
7:35.
it's, what is it, 7:35? 7:35, this is a meeting of the FAA. Before I open up the public hearing, we have a couple new members that are with us today, and I'd like to have you introduce yourselves to us. Let us know why you decided to join the FAA. I guess, Joan, you want to?
Joan Gardecki, and I've been an employee of the town and on the personnel board for the last 15 years or so. And I just decided, I took a little break and I decided I'd like to join the FAA.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us. It's been
And
tough
she
to find some
enjoys
members
working
here.
with the town administrator.
Excellent. Kelly?
My name is Kelly Laskowski, and I decided to join after some encouragement and saw that there was a need.
Somebody twisted your arm, huh? You know, we don't get paid on this. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us. It's always good to have a full board here. Well, I think we still can have a couple more members, so keep up the advertising on the members here. And also,
Mr. Co-Chairs, Mr. Johnson joined CIP. He's a new member on CIP.
You didn't get to say anything.
We are very pleased to have you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. It was a similar arm twisting, I'm sure.
Also,
You weren't even there, and you got your arm good twisted, I heard.
and I'd also like to mention, as far as the FAA, Mark is back with us again. Thank God he's back with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, he's out for a brief absence, but everything looking good now, so. All right, so what I'll do now, it's 7:37. I'll open up the public hearing. What I'd like to do with the articles here is we have several articles to go through. Some of them may or may not have anything to do with FAA, but we'll go through each individual one of them. I'm gonna have the town administrator go through these. What I also would like is if anybody has any questions on FAA about any of these articles, please speak up. There's a lot here. I know a couple new people, so. So we'll just speak up if you have any questions about anything. And that's pretty much it there. A couple questions I'd like to ask the administrator before we start, and just some dollar numbers. John, do we have do you know what the stabilization amount is right now?
Yeah, it's, I think it's 254 in stabilization, 150 something, that's on right, Debbie? And capital improvement stabilization.
So at least 150 in capital improvement stabilization?
Or it might have been reversed, it might be 150 in stabilization and more than that. Let me see if I can look it up real quick.
Rich got it.
Rich got it.
Just so you know, it's going up on the screen, Jim. Okay.
I know.
Didn't know if you were
Mr.
doing it
Chairman.
sensitive.
Don't yell at everybody.
Stabilization of 107, CIP stabilization 254.
That's right, stabilization took a big hit when the schools took the extra 165 from us.
Did we take it out of stable? I thought we took it out of cap.
I think it came out of stable.
Stabilization came out stable.
Mm-hmm.
The school Jonathan, you have a certified free cash number yet?
We don't have it yet,
You have a,
but we're working well within what we,
do you have
We
a
have a-
rough idea? 100?
it'll be more, we're well within our free cash request is well within what we anticipate for free cash. We just haven't had it certified yet. We have a rough
So probably
estimate.
not much left.
No, I think we'll be good. I think we'll be all right. I think we're probably,
We're okay.
am I okay to say 30% of our request of free cash? So whatever we're requesting tonight to be added to the budget
About 30%
is
of-
around 30, no, you're pushing, but around 30% of what we anticipate.
Okay, that helps me. Is there any overlay money available? None? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna, we'll go through each one of these. If there's any, anybody from the public that wants to make a comment, any department heads that want to comment on any of these articles, once we're done going through them, we can take them either one at a time for FAA recommendation, or we can bunch them together, pull out what we need, or whatever your pleasure is. All right, so Jonathan, I guess I'll turn it over to you for Article 1, Article 2 are pretty common articles. I don't think we need to do anything with that. Article 3 is a water sewer commissioner's article. We got an unpaid bill from a prior year of $5,550.50 from an invoice from RI Analytical. So, do you want to take that, Jonathan, or just anybody from?
I think it's essentially a bill that wasn't received prior to the end of the fiscal year.
Do you know what, is this fiscal year 21 or 20? What fiscal year was this?
It would have been any bill received prior to June 30th
So
of this
21?
year. Yeah.
And any idea why this was outstanding? From 21? COVID's an excuse for COVID for everything, right? Everybody's home, they can't get bills out.
You'd be surprised. It would blow your mind.
What did RI Analytical perform? What were they doing?
There are sampling agencies, they do all our sampling. When we do monthly, quarterly sampling.
Is that for all the PFAS, or is that everything in general?
PFAS, but we go to other agencies for PFAS going directly.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments on this? Anybody from FAA got any questions on this?
No, sir.
Any Board of Selectmen then?
Pay it.
Pay it?
Gotta pay it.
Okay. All right, moving on then to Article 4, these are unpaid bills.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is unfortunately a situation where we were not able to track these bills down for a while. They were going to Oxford. The solar companies tend to change hands, and things get lost in translation, and this is a few of them. This is an example.
10,000, so these invoices here, are they, is this all the same company? Is this one payment?
Yeah, it's Terraform. We buy credits at a lower rate than what we would pay National Grid for actual electrical rate, and then it's applied to the National Grid bill.
And we don't use that many credits, so we sell them to the school.
Well, we've done pretty well rectifying that situation, but
So have you gotten that down? A little bit?
well, yeah, we've sold some off that weren't applied, and we figured out where we could properly apply them, so we're taking full advantage of our credits, and we were in much better shape than we were about 2 years ago with the credits.
10,500. All right, does anybody have any comments on this? FAA, anything?
No.
Jonathan, you want me to take this one out of order here, Article 5, and come back to it, because you got a lot of numbers, and there's a lot of numbers that are involved in articles here. You wanna
Well, they're not, well, they're actually separated, though, because these are kind of straightforward, that's why they're put onto the supplemental with the appendix. So if you look at the Appendix A, which is this spreadsheet in the back, which changed since Friday.
Since Friday.
Yeah, so I can go over these very quickly, and they'll be very easily explained.
All right, so you guys, everybody on FAA have Appendix A, have this one right here? All right, that's all this added together for this article.
So the easiest thing for me to explain is to get rid of the highway department part first. So if we start highway overtime, we go all the way down to highway truck driver in the first bank.
Highway truck driver, okay. So what is that?
So anything that shows the position, driver, laborer, driver, mechanic, equipment operator, those are all a factor of the recent collective bargaining agreement that we signed that represents the increases that weren't applied in the spring for two reasons. One was a strategic reason, because we hadn't been completed negotiations, and the second was we were making room for the last minute change that we received that would increase the school budget above the recommended amount.
So the last
So anything that says.
last five of those are
Anything from
contractual?
heavy equipment operator down to highway truck driver laborer is all contractual increases.
Heavy equipment operator?
Yeah.
two of them. OP is, the P is in
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry I'm working backwards, but it was easy to
That's fine.
just explain those away quickly. So if we go above heavy equipment operator, we have highway general expenses. We've added a little bit more to that because we've had some additional regulatory costs that are attached to the Amoresco solar array. There's some testing that's been ongoing down at the Cap landfill.
Yeah.
And we took it out of highway general expenses, so we didn't have that funded. That was another thing that we backed off on.
Okay.
In the spring, gas diesel is kind of self-explanatory because the gas prices are going up, pretty quickly.
Okay.
Highway overtime, I think we used a little bit more than we anticipated before we got to the town meeting, so I wanted to bolster that up a little bit. Most of it, when we plow, comes out of snow and ice, so we don't incur that. That's why I only put 5,000 in there, but I just want to make sure we had enough in case we have storms or something like that that requires them to come out and it's not a snow event.
Okay.
Michelle's gonna help me with the assessor's line item. That's a recurring expense that we backed off on in the spring and needed to replace in the fall. Do you remember what that is, Michelle? Or maybe I could ask Debbie.
Yeah, we underfunded Lisa. We cut our budget in half for that line item, and something she has to pay. So we anticipated that we were gonna have it in the fall.
Is that for the assessments, the inspections, or what is that?
Something called our
Recap?
I think it's personal property.
You know what that is, Rich?
Just what Debbie said, I think we have someone helping with the personal property billing, much as you go through and do your, was triennial review. Now it's a bigger period. I think they receive assistance to go through and do those things. It's better to have a professional than you just get that more efficiency if that's the item I believe it is.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other two, Jonathan?
I think this represents the treasurer's salary that was voted on the last fiscal year that didn't carry over. We didn't carry enough over to fully fund it for this fiscal year. That was voted at town meeting. We were short a little bit when we took a look at it.
In the last supplemental meeting?
No, the last town meeting, the previous town meeting when he was voted his last increase,
Yeah.
well, I didn't budget it appropriately, or I didn't get it, it didn't get budgeted appropriately.
Okay.
Sufficiently, I should say,
All right.
for this fiscal year.
And the town clerk assistant?
The town clerk assistant is just a transfer from the town accountants. So the assistant town clerk, Jackie, works a few hours in the town accountant's office.
Yeah.
We're going to seek to use some federal money to hire an assistant town accountant to help Debbie out more than a few hours a week, because it's getting a little absurd at this point. So we're gonna put Jackie for the whole week downstairs in the town clerk's office. So that's just a budget, that's just a transfer,
okay.
yeah. And then the enterprise heading represents the increases to the water and sewer union employees, and they're part of the same collective bargaining unit as the highway. So that represents their increases.
So, I guess I'm still confused. So what happened in our budget year with these salaries? Well, how did this many of them were underfunded?
We signed the contract after the budget was approved.
We didn't have a signed contract in the spring.
Contract came after.
I didn't want to put 2% in because strategically, all they have to do is look at what the budget was and know what I'm going to agree to. So we didn't budget it until the contract was done.
Why was the contract so late?
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
That's the way the dates fall.
I don't remember funding these shortfalls with free cash in the past.
I'm sure we have. Maybe some interdepartmental transfers, but I'm positive we have in the past. But only every 3 years, so.
You just don't remember ever doing it. Okay.
We might have transferred out of that. What was that? Remember that mysterious line item that appeared?
Highway machinery maintenance?
Yeah.
No,
that's
compensated
all
balances, that mysterious line item that previous
uncompensated.
administrator created. I think he did some
Okay.
fuzzy
all right,
math.
yeah.
We didn't budget for the increases, so it's gotta come out of free cash.
Yeah, I understand where it's gonna come from, I just never seen that. Supplemental.
Is that what
Does
it was
FAA have any questions on this?
Compensated balances, he had that account.
No, sir.
So that's open transparency on the activity as opposed to a lump sum.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's what I said magically created.
Thank you. All right, no, that's fine.
I get your chart for that.
So is there any other questions on this article? Article 4, is it, what it is?
It's only $7,200 on that.
Anybody?
That was Article 5, so we're on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Article 5?
Yep.
All right, seeing no questions, we'll go on to Article 6. This is town clerk, town administrator, this is the department transfer. We got $5,700 from the online services account to the voting equipment and maintenance fee account. To purchase an additional voting machine in compliance with Commonwealth of Mass requirement for Dudley to add an additional voting precinct. Or take any other action relative thereto.
So Articles 6, 7, and 8, and 9, Mr. Chairman, in recommending these transfers, I'm taking advantage of federal money that was received through the American Rescue Plan Act, which is ARPA. And we knew it was coming. We hadn't received it fully in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what was gonna qualify for it. We just knew that it was coming like everybody else. So this gave us the ability through a series of interdepartmental transfers to reappropriate funds that were approved in the spring, pay for them with the federal funds, and apply those funds from other departments, use those in transfers and not really move the budget that much, the budget needle. So that explains the next 6 through 9. There's some free cash in there, but we created these articles just so you could see precisely where everything was going. So interdepartmental transfer in Article 6, transfer the sum of $5,700 from account, I'm just gonna say the name instead of read the numbers, Online Services OpenGov, which is our online services platform, which is eligible for federal funding because it's a tactic to mitigate moving paper around, people coming through. They can do everything online. The inspectors can do remote inspections in real time and so forth and so on. So that's been applied for federal funding. And that money that they appropriated in the spring, $5,700 of it, I'm asking to be moved to the voting equipment maintenance fee line item in the town clerk's office, and she is here for questions, I think. Yeah, because we have to buy an additional voting machine to add an additional precinct. So it's $5,700.
Good evening. This is a result of the federal census. Every 10 years they go through and see what the population is. Well, Dudley increased. We're not supposed to have more than 4,000 voters per precinct, and we were within 80 of that, so they were recommending that we add the 4th precinct. And to do so, we would need another voting machine so that we still have our spare, because at the November election, we actually had to pull our spare because our precinct 1 machine went down in the middle of it.
Are you acquiring from the same company?
Same company, same machines.
Dominion? No.
I like Joe's.
Here we go.
Hey, turn off that thermostat so it doesn't override the machine. Turn off that thermostat.
Okay, gotta get a laugh. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any additional money for handling all the mail-in votings, additional voting hours, and all those other mandates?
We could probably maneuver something if we had to do that through the ARPA funds. I mean, there are qualifying expenses, to answer your question, that I could make work.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I want to make the clerk get back up again, but are we going back to the same geographical precincts we had previously? Because people were just getting used to. I used to be 2, now I'm 3, I used to be 4, now I'm 1.
We are getting an additional precinct?
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear that
Lori.
for sure.
Are we going back to the original 4 precincts geographically, more or less, the way they used to be? I know it's population-based.
I honestly don't know what the lines were before. We are going back to 4 precincts. We're in the process right now of working with the town administrator and the planner and the state to come to an agreement where the lines would be. But basically, it's in the middle of all 3 precincts right now. They're taking a little from each and making a 4th right there. So I don't know what the old one was. That was years ago. I know we did have 4, but that's what the proposed plan is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Larry.
Any questions from FAA on any of that? No. Okay. So Article 7, again, I guess I'll let you briefly explain. I know it's all the same, but you want to go through that?
Okay. That's another from that same online services platform, $1,319. From VPN licenses, which we can now apply for to the federal funds, because that gives us the ability to work remotely if we came back to another situation like that. What else? Help desk. So there wouldn't be staff in the building. We have now hired a vendor where we can put in a ticket and they can address our IT needs. So that money is all remote. It's all eligible for federal funding. So we're using the total amount of $5,017.00, and we're adding that to stormwater dams in compliance with Mass DEP testing, inspection, regulatory compliance.
Any questions on this one? None. FAA, anything? Seeing none, I'll move on.
The next one, Mr. Chairman, is we had some money left over in the wage study grant that was recently completed. We have a contractual obligation for the fire chief and the assistant chief for an increase in their salary of $2,331 for for the fire chief and 1,713 for the assistant chief. And we're proposing to pay those contractual obligations out of remaining grant funds from the wage study grant. And we'd need a town meeting to vote to do that.
So these aren't increase, this isn't a salary increase, this is just funding what you contract.
Well, it's right, it's part of their, both of them have in their contracts these amounts.
Okay. Okay, any questions? All right, seeing none. Move on to Article 9.
Okay, this one is for the police department. The Board of Selectmen recently approved for the police department to have an independent exam for lieutenant, and to somewhere after January go down the road of hiring a lieutenant. And this would fund that the amount of, what did I say, 38,000?
About 38,000, I believe.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. So it's a total of 38,000 from various different accounts, including 10,000 from free cash, 20,000 from the public health agent salary line item, because that is also now ARPA eligible, the public health agent. We just entered it into an IMA with Webster to split that service. And what else? Some additional funds from the wage study grant. And 756 from cyber security for the purpose of hiring a police lieutenant. A total of 38,000. Yeah, we need to add that in.
Anybody have any questions on this? So we got a new position in, basically.
No, it's an existing position we're gonna fund fully in place. It's been in the budget for years, we just never.
Yeah, it's never
fully
been funded
it. We had a
before.
placeholder.
Okay.
Previously had a lieutenant, he left, we never replaced him.
Never replaced it.
But we kept that line item
Okay.
for that purpose.
And this is just for balance of the fiscal year then? 38?
Well, balance of the salary.
We figured right around the time the hiring would take place, that would
Cover till
make up
July.
the balance.
Any questions at all?
Good catch.
Okay. All right, Article 10. This is a treasurer, collector, town clerk article. We already discussed some of this.
This is a request for an article from town clerk and the treasurer to increase their salaries. Of course, they can both explain, but I believe the treasurer is asking for a 3% increase. The town clerk is asking to bring her salary up to the minimum benchmark in the market rate, according to the salary survey that was just completed.
Or you can, quick question. What's the timeframe on the constable posting this? Is this 2 weeks again?
It has to be 7 days before, I'm sorry, this is.
Is it a 7-day or
Yeah,
is it
It's a special.
It should be 14, because I guess there was some going back and forth between whether this was a special or an annual, but they're calling it a special annual.
But we're gonna post it 14 just to
As
be
a
on the
special, so
safe
it would be
side.
14 if you
Yeah.
wanna do it that way. So 14 days before.
Okay. So it's a special then?
It is a special, but we're gonna post it at 14 just to make sure it's posted.
Can we give it a salary increase to elected people in a special town meeting? I don't
If
think we
it's
can.
voted, I think, we'll send it, if it's a problem, we'll send it through. The whole thing's gonna go to town council.
The last time we asked legal, I think we had this. the general law, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
We had it, and our legal said no on the floor. She said it was a continuation of the annual, and it wasn't. It was a special because because of the COVID. So can this be done legally?
I can ask the question.
Okay. Is it the same legal counsels we had?
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna get the same answer.
Hopefully it's the same answer one way or another.
All right, because we had, like I say, I think Mark, you had printed it out for us, and it was. But I'm not sure because it's mandated it was mandated because of COVID as a special.
See, the problem is that,
I don't know if that's legal or not.
the problem is that Dudley, in the bylaws, has 2 town meetings.
Right.
There can't both be annual town meetings. One has to be an annual, when anything else is a special. That's never been specified or parsed out, so let me get an opinion before we.
Yeah, all right.
Also, Mr. Chair, the continuation fall to the annual has to meet a certain criteria, which it didn't last year either.
Right.
Which automatically makes it a special.
Special election, right?
Yep.
And they requested a 14-day notice. That's why we questioned whether it could have been done then.
Is that what was the criteria?
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask town council.
All right, okay. Does anybody have any questions on this at all? Rich?
I'll just add to it, Mr. Chairman. So, a few weeks ago, the Board of Selectmen accepted the wage study.
Yeah.
They accepted it, made some provisions to it, and as the Board of Selectmen, were allowed to move a great deal of employees up to a new level according to funding. Lori and I are a bit unique in that the annual salary is set by town meeting. So with that being said, the Board of Selectmen didn't have a mechanism to increase Lori's salary, my salary, the way they did Michelle's, Nelson, the building inspector, whomever. And this is just the way to do it. We were part of the wage study. They went through, they did all of the questions. They asked the subordinates all the questions. What do you do? How is this done?
Right.
They had all the rankings. And this is the mechanism to move money into the account.
Just got a question, why is it one article, not 2? It's 2 different accounts, 2 different posts, elected positions. Where'd it go? I'm just wondering. You know, I know there's others that have like 15 different
The only reason is
accounts in
because
them, but
if there was a no vote, it's no to both. If there's somebody may
Yeah.
want a positive vote in one and a negative vote in another, I mean, so.
one vote, 2 wars.
Yeah, so, that,
Could make it into 2 individual ones.
Well, I think administratively, part of the discussion before the selectmen even accepted the wage and salary study was to sit down with the town administrator. And we went through and figured out whatever was gonna be figured out. He says, sure. And I don't think much more than that.
Okay. So tying out the, that same process for elected officials, basically. Okay, that makes sense. One article.
Jay thinks that maybe they should be 2 separate ones.
Yeah, we voted it all,
Yeah,
we didn't do it independently.
30 positions and one
No, we did all
sign of a
one.
pen.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay.
So, I didn't bring the wage study, so I don't have it, and I think Rich could probably answer. Lori said her wage increase would bring her to the bottom of the range. And what would Rich's increase put that in? Would that bring to the,
He's in the market range right now.
That's what I thought, but so we'll just keep it within, in the
Oh,
range?
we have a long way to go before I hit that far range. Also, I think you were the one that noted, this is year 19. And I think they had it listed out differently as something less than 10 years. So
Right.
to line all of those things up.
I didn't bring it, I didn't know I needed it. Okay, I just wanted to double check.
If they wanna separate the article, then I'm happy to do that too, it's up to,
That might be the best way to go.
both.
Depends on who put it in, right? So it's okay either way.
Yeah.
It's okay either way, yes.
And, like I say, I have no objection to a raise at all. It's, no, I'm just wanna make sure that it's legal to do this, cause like you just said, it's set at annual town election is your salaries. Fall was always considered a continuation of the annual town meeting, but that was changed. It was always a 7-day posting, now it's been changed to special town meeting, which it wasn't allowed in the bylaw, in special town meeting, so that's what I wanna make sure
I
that's
think the
clear.
distinction was we're treating it as a special, but it was never officially changed, but we're treating it as a special so that nothing
I
goes wrong.
I
Right.
agree with you on that,
Yeah.
but that wasn't our choice, that was the Attorney General's
You are
choice to
correct.
make that change.
Yeah.
Whether that's, she can legally make that change on her own is,
Yeah.
I don't wanna get into
I'll
that,
call
but
her
I don't
tomorrow.
know.
I'm gonna. I'll
Call her tomorrow, yeah. Okay. All right, any
Mr.
other questions?
Chairman?
Go ahead.
Through you to the other chairman. Is there a preference? Separating them, keeping them together?
Why don't we get to see if we could do it, and board members, do you?
Under the presumption we can.
Okay, that's a good,
Just
yeah.
everyone's here and it's a good discussion to have. It's administrative because anything can be adjusted on the town meeting floor as well.
I mean, I see merits of both. You guys, it's the two paid elected positions we have, so lumping together, it's okay with me, but if it's cleaner to do two, that's okay too.
I think the discussion was, you'd have a single discussion.
Sure. Jay?
Yeah, just, it's a single discussion if you put it into the wage increase discussion, right,
Yes.
which was one discussion for non-elected. Right, and then one discussion for elected, that makes sense. Or if you say because they're each elected independently, and it is a special case, like Rich said, then you probably want it, just like an election, each run on your own merits, right? So I can see either way.
Yeah, I do. Steve, any preference?
No, I mean, so you guys have, last couple times you've done it, you guys have combined it to one vote, right? It's never been split, I don't believe.
I wanna say, it's always been an asterisk on the supplemental budget.
Yeah.
And it was never a line item, or at least that's how it was done in June. There was an asterisk that said treasurer collector's salary, town clerk's salary spelled out, obviously for compliance reasons, and then
I'm good either way. I agree with, I agree with both sides of the argument. I mean, they made a valid point. Keep it together, valid point. I have no preference.
We'd probably beat that to death, right?
Lori run out on us?
No,
She's right there.
She's hiding.
There we go.
All right, is there any other
Add your
questions?
2 cents.
Any other questions on this?
Did you have a vote? No.
No, if you have anything you wanna add, please?
No, I don't have a preference either way, whether it's split or put together. It's been done both ways, so I can see the arguments you made for both sides. It is both the elected position, so it makes sense to put it that way, but if you prefer to do it the other way, that's fine as well.
Okay.
All right, FAA, got any? Mark, anything?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, getting towards the end. Article 11, this is a town administrator. 20,000.
So this goes, Mr. Chairman, right to the heart of me backing down in the spring on what I recommended in budget. I knew that this was gonna have to come back. We need this amount to cover our expenses for the rest of the year. Or we can really live Spartan and wear sweaters in the winter here or something like that. Other than that, we need to add that 20,000 to the operating expenses.
So what do you want, 20,000 from free cash?
Well, in the spring, we were close. I mean, I think we probably could have gotten close to getting by with what was funded. but we had a couple of unforeseen circumstances with downstairs in the senior center. There was an issue that needed to be remediated. There was some HVAC issues that needed to be repaired. And there was I think there was an issue in the police chief's office that needed to be repaired as well, so it's too close for comfort. I'm asking to offset the cost of mechanical system cleaning, maintenance, and repair at the Town Hall Senior Center and the police station, $20,000. Transferred to, let's see, what is that? Give me 1 second. I think this might be written incorrectly.
Yeah, I don't understand the language here.
Yeah, to and from is in, okay. From account number, no, that's, should be. Yeah, okay, so there's 2 requests there. Bear with me, I'm sorry. So first part I said is correct, offset the HVAC issues, remediation in the senior center, and then $20,000 from free cash to grant project design for the purposes of engineering, testing, administrative costs associated with regulatory compliance and grant application, and take any other action relative thereto. The second one, the second $20,000 to the grant project design line item is because we oftentimes have to have somebody write the grant, or we have to have like an engineering plan or make a shovel-ready project in order to apply for the grant. We've never been in a situation where we've had money specifically set aside for that. So that's the second $20,000 request from free cash, to give me the ability to bring somebody in if I need to write the project design, do the engineering, in order to put us in a position where we can apply for the grant.
All right, any questions on this? Anybody? Mark,
No,
anything
sir.
on this?
Not on this one.
Okay,
That's good.
makes sense. Okay. All right, next is Article 12. $15,000 to move from, what is this, from free cash to the FAA reserve fund. Okay. We had,
Another thing that we didn't fund in the spring, Mr. Chairman.
we didn't fund that? I thought we did. I thought we moved that out, like with the fire truck. Didn't we do that? Yes.
Was it the fire truck?
Yeah, we
did.
we
We
did
moved
our-
that,
yeah.
we moved money,
The whole amount?
yeah, 15, right?
Okay, well, it's empty. We need 15 more.
Yeah, putting it back in.
Yeah, putting it back in.
Putting it back in, all right.
I have no objection to that.
Isn't there some rule about it? There has to be something,
Well, yeah, there's always a buck in it, but
Yeah.
we're trying to change that too.
right?
Does anybody have any questions about putting that in there?
None.
Nope,
Okay.
standard.
All right,
Could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Can we go to 14 and dispose of the rest of the spending articles?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, Article 14, 15 with a slight change. Article 16 is new. 17 is something that we just added by amending the capital improvement plan for 5 years. So, if you want, I can go through Article 14 through...
Yeah, if you could. I know,
Article 14 is something that was approved by the Capital Improvement Committee. That was the salt brine machine that was added in the spring, and it was passed over because we weren't acting on any of that. So here it is again.
okay. So,
And my recommendation of the source of funding for that would be to borrow and then debt exclude. And as part of the packet tonight, I have this from the assessor's office that shows the impact on capital items. Borrowed and debt excluded, yeah. So the brine machine would add 10 cents to the tax rate, which means that it would, for an average home assessed at $384,000, the bill would increase by $28.14 for the year. Just so you have some, if this were to pass and the FAA were to recommend source of funding to be borrowing, the selectmen went ahead and debt excluded it, which is, I hope, the only way we would do that at this point.
Mr. Chair, it'd be about $2.10 a month or whatever, 20 cents.
It would be 10 cents to the tax rate with an additional increase of $28 a year.
Divided by 12, it's $2
So, so explain how this article works, John. It's, are we buying this brine machine and then hoping we get an override on us? Is this how we're funding this? How
We
does
don't
this?
have-
Not an override.
Well, debt exclusion, I'm sorry.
So if you move, there's actually a sample motion here right now that we had from the spring. This enables, if you recommend, if the FAA recommends the source to approve this article with the source of funding being borrowing, this article enables Rich to borrow for it, and then the selectmen would vote to put it on as a debt exclusion or not vote. Or we just wouldn't get it if the source of funding wasn't available.
When will you put this debt exclusion up? This would have to be in the fall, in the spring, in June, right?
Correct.
So if we authorize Rich to go get the money, buy the brine machine, we don't know if we have an actual source of funding.
I actually would probably not borrow the money or buy the machine until we figured out how we're gonna pay for it.
So then, wouldn't it be better to bypass this article? Why pass I don't understand the need to pass it now. Why not come back and?
Because if you pass in 10 years, it's gonna be the same premise. It's, if you recommend the source of funding to be borrowing, then that's what it is. If it doesn't pass the debt exclusion, we wouldn't borrow it, and we wouldn't get it.
What I'm saying is in our annual meeting, if this appears exactly like this on our annual meeting, and it passes, then in June, we have a debt exclusion.
But you'd also delay the purchase of it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, we're buying this before we know we get the funding for it, that's.
You gotta do two things.
You wouldn't be able to get it on the ballot quickly enough to debt exclude it if you waited till the spring. It wouldn't appear on the ballot.
We need the approved warrant article,
Postpone another 6 months.
and then
Right,
the
at least.
ballot.
Yeah.
Well, why can't that go in, when's the ballot gonna be printed, what's the difference in?
You set the tax rate in November so that you can get your January 1st bills out, so you don't have enough time. If you wanted to get it, you would have backdated everything to have an election a month ago. You have your ballot vote, it goes through, you'd have the town clerk be able to give the thumbs up for it, that it passed everything, and then you'd be able to calculate it in ahead of the assessors coming here for the tax rate hearing. So
there isn't enough time between the spring?
It's 35 days to get it printed on the ballot. Then we've got to put the sample ballot up. It would never be enough time.
No, okay, so it's a time frame issue.
Yeah. But
The only reason why I ask is because, if we're not,
you can continue.
if you say you're not gonna buy this.
Well, you could
until-
make it, your motion could make it contingent on the debt exclusion.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, should we add that language to the warrant article?
You can make it, you can do it in your motion.
Okay.
If you want, I can have her update the motion to reflect that.
So, go ahead.
How deep, Mr. Chairman, how deep of a discussion you want to get with debt exclusions?
Well, I want people to know what they're voting on. I mean,
No. The debt exclusion should be a bigger picture.
yeah,
You go through and you set your tax rate based on 2.5 new growth, and then on top of everything are all of your overrides and your debt exclusions. We have level principal for all of the debt that's been excluded. All of the interest payments, because the principal payments are going down, $12,000 less in interest on this building that was debt excluded between last year and this year. In December of 2022, which will be fiscal '23, this building comes off and frees up $400,000 worth of tax rate, for lack of a more descriptive term.
So in context,
There's another item that's going to come off at the end of this year. So
well, I mean,
part of the exercise was to go through and say, if we added 50, 75, $100,000 item, approximately this is the impact for the average homeowner. Steve Sullivan can look at somebody and say, yep, it's $2, $3 a month, whatever it's going to be.
no, I agree, Rich, but that, you know, I guess that's not what, you know, my concern on this. It was not the way we're gonna, you know, play with debt coming off to debt going on. That's up to the voter if they wanna replace debt with debt. I mean, I don't think that's up to me to make that decision, but,
I disagree. I think between the Board of Selectmen and the FAA, your DE1, you should have level debt service. Go back to your own personal financing, not specifically you,
yeah,
Mr. Chairman, but-
I mean, we've had this conversation
Right.
before, so I'm not gonna I don't wanna get into this.
Okay.
At this point, but I'm just saying, if the reason for the article now is to debt exclude this, and it's a time frame thing that you can't get the debt exclusion on, then I guess I have no issue with it, but I just don't understand why we would purchase this now without knowing we have a debt exclusion to pay for it. So that's,
I think the point was to approve it and have it approved and administratively not buy anything until one of two things happened. You had enough money to go through and finance it separately, or you had a debt excluded vote that affirmatively allowed you to purchase it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd never make a purchase that we didn't know the source of funding. There's no way that I would sign it.
no, that's what confused me on this, is that
Yeah.
we're authorizing the purchase of something without knowing how we're gonna pay for it. We have an idea how we may pay for it in the future, but we really don't have a way at this point.
In simple terms, it's just kind of, excuse me, Mr. Chair, it's just kind of creating a line of credit. And if the purchase doesn't go through, we don't access that line of credit, that just goes away. We're not taking $110,000, banking it, and if we don't get the truck,
No. You
it's
can't
like
do
having
that, no.
access to funds if needed or approved.
Right. It's always as funding allows. If we don't have the funding for it, we don't buy it.
I mean, Jeff had the public hearing, we did 2 or 3 presentations on it. I mean, anybody that watched has to agree it's a wise purchase.
Right.
Long-term savings will pay for itself.
I do think, though, that adding, subject to debt exclusion vote.
Yep, I'm gonna put that right here.
Yep. Now, the other question then I have for you is, let's say we get into the spring and some of the revenue that we've been anticipating starts to hit, and it's unnecessary. I mean, we got, some of that revenue is supposed to go into capital stabilization, a good portion of it, if it starts coming in. That would preclude us from having to even attempt an override.
Right.
Would you agree with that? So,
I think we're covering,
so I
covering all of our
I don't know
bases,
if I
right?
wanna make it subject to a
We could make it.
purchase subject to
See, if you add subject to debt exclusion,
that's what I don't want.
now
I
we're
wanna screw it
hamstrung
up.
into,
All right.
just trust I'm not gonna buy it if I can't pay for it. I'll also have to look for another job.
Who wrote the recommended motion? You? Jonathan, did you write the recommended motion?
KP wrote that for our spring meeting. Town council wrote that.
Just have to,
It just, it carried over from the original.
just have to change the article number in the
So
motion.
we were good with this last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds pretty solid.
Okay. Any other questions on this?
So just for clarification, maybe it's a good idea not to specifically state debt excluded.
No, that's fine, I don't wanna, I don't wanna screw it up, but we have the money to actually pay for this, which we're hoping. Okay, if there's no other questions, I guess we'll move on to 15, the highway truck. So we have purchased the highway truck for the replacement for the buildings and grounds.
Correct.
Is this,
This is exactly how it was written last time. This is passed
It's
over.
the exact same wording,
was it
correct.
though written this way?
Yeah, this is verbatim.
You sure it wasn't 50? I thought it was $50,000. We had a $50,000.
We had a $50,000
$40,000
foreman's
truck.
truck, which we,
$40,000.
which we removed from here because we were able to purchase it. It's already been approved by capital improvement.
But I believe this truck here was 49 something. We rounded up to 50.
You remember, Joe?
No, it was 55, and there's been some increases in pretty much every year.
I think we set up to 55.
No. No. I know it was 50. I had the thing. I'm sorry, I don't have the actual. Do you have that?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we approve the proper amount. I know it's definitely 49 something. I remember.
We said up to because of all the.
Yeah, because we said up to 50 to cover it, and it was up to 40 to cover the other one. It was 90 altogether. And this one here was, I know it was 50 that we approved. I just want to make sure, Rich.
Okay, yeah, check it.
I know, Rich, what did, Article 12
Highway 350.
was 90, right?
Highway said 90.
Right, so it was a 40 and a 50.
Do we know where the 55 came from?
Yeah, that's what I want to know, is how do we get another?
90 from spring of 21, so.
No, I got the same one.
Bid list, I think.
Right, we'd have to have capital improvement approve that again.
I'd rather just go with the 50 and we'll figure it out.
Back to 50?
Go with the 50.
Make it work?
We'll make it work.
All right,
A
so,
couple of them for coffee.
Gotta keep the ashtray though.
No, no smoking in town vehicles. Right.
Right.
does anybody have any questions from FAA on this?
No.
So the only thing here, Jonathan, you've got the same language in this, going forward, right? So this puts us in the same question, right? You're not gonna buy it if you don't have the money. Type
This
of,
one I would recommend we debt exclude. It would, again, but we're not gonna buy it if we don't have the money.
right, so this was, being on capital improvement, this has been lagging for.
Well, I mean, technically, Mr. Chairman, we have competing interests, right? Let me, just bear with me for 1 second. So, we've had our current tax rate is $12.30. In FY19, it was $13.50. In FY20, it was $13.06. So, we're steadily going down, and Rich is reporting we're going down even further. So we want to just have a balance between making ourselves cash strapped versus, replacing debt so that it's within a reasonable amount that people can manage. So to the extent that I can buy stuff, sure, but we also don't want to have an artificially low tax rate, and then all of a sudden it gets defeated just because we've gone up so exponentially. If we just You know, if we continue to replace things as they break, as they need to be maintained, and have a plan, like a capital improvement plan to kind of replace that as we, I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, but you've heard it all before.
I'm just saying, this is.
I just don't wanna be in a
This
position.
truck's growing a beard here. We've had this on capital.
So let's
improvement.
buy it.
That's what I'm
Let's
saying. Why are we fooling around with putting this on a potential debt exclusion? We got $250 in capital improvement stabilization. Buy his truck. He needs it now. With snow's coming, or winter's coming, to quote Game of Thrones here, he needs a plow truck. They've been asking for this for a while. I don't understand why we would debt exclude.
The only reason is because I think that we need a little bit of a rainy day fund. We're not proposing to add anything from free cash, except for what we're gonna get from, what we're getting now from our host community agreements that automatically go into stabilization. I hate to have no cushion, just to keep the tax rate down 4 cents.
I mean, we got, not a lot, but we got 100 in stable and 250 something in cap. You don't wanna go 50 in cap and give them.
It's what you guys wanna do.
I mean, that's right. Personally, I think, I'm tired of this coming up all the time.
Well, it's always gonna.
Building the ground truck, every time we've done this, and I've done this for many years, we should be buying, at least buy this truck anyway. I mean, I know it's gonna.
I'm happy to buy it, you tell me.
That would be, when we get to the motions, I would recommend.
I'm happy to buy it.
It's also funding capital improvement stabilization, get a 2/3 vote and pay for the stupid truck, so we can go have it for the winter.
It's an option.
That's my personal opinion on
That's the
that.
debt exclude.
Yeah, I mean, why wait on this one anyway? I mean, I see the other ones, but.
Yeah, makes sense. Change your motion.
Yep.
I haven't made it yet, so. I don't know, it's up to you,
Well, let's keep going,
All
Mr.
right,
Chairman,
so
let's keep going through.
I always go back to, and just so you know how I'm thinking, I always go back to when we had the ice dam situation, the roof started leaking, and, you know, we had to play around with a leaky roof. If we had the stabilization,
Right.
boom, we can do it. We can definitely go ahead and borrow and pay for it.
So that still
But-
leaves us in both stabilization counts, 300.
I know.
I know, but unfortunately, hopefully the roof don't leak. What else have we gotta fix in this town other than that?
Because the way things go, the roof could cave in and people would vote against it, replacing it, the way
They
things
did
have been
already.
going lately.
They did
So,
already.
you know, so, that's why I do what I do. I understand what you're saying, but that's my thinking.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Article 16, unless there's any other questions on that article. Does anybody have anything?
No.
Okay, Article 16 then. This is the police cruiser. And it looks like this amount would be equivalent to what the lease payment would be on that from Enterprise on the vehicle.
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to bring up a point just from the previous discussion with the treasurer. I'm not sure if any of the language wants to be adjusted in case this decides to be a borrow or something like that. I know this money would be added to it. So I don't know if there's any need to change the language, or if this would apply if we leased and or borrowed the money through the town, whichever way we want to go. That was going to be my only question. I'm fine with either, but I know with that discussion from earlier, I just want to make sure whatever the language was, that it could cover all the options.
Mr. Chair, so correct me if I'm wrong, the way the article's written, 15,000 out of capital improvement stabilization, and if we do the 50 for the building and grounds, now we're up to 65 from the 250 or whatever. Why the math?
It could be worse. I'm not having a stroke over it, Mr. Chairman. It's not that huge of an amount to leave us empty with. I'm okay with it.
Anybody have any other comments or questions for the chief on this?
Is there language in the capital improvement bylaw? Lease payments versus loan payments?
As long as the vehicle was total,
All right.
the total value, I think that one was at what, 60,000, chief?
Yes. Yeah, I think you approved 50, I think you approved 55, I think it was, 55, 56, I can't remember the exact amount
It
capital.
was like over 60, I know that.
Yeah, 60 was for the total cost. I'm just trying to remember exactly what Capital Improvement Committee approved for an official final figure. I can't recall it at this point.
I had written down a number for the first year was 15.7. Is that's it's straight 15 or?
Well, we'll figure out we're gonna find the difference with whatever the first year payment is. So we'll find out. 15,000 is a good base to start with, and we can find from existing funds the balance we need to pay it. My only concern was just if we decided to go the treasurer's route and borrow money, to just borrow money and buy it and then pay off the borrowing. I just wanna make sure, however the article is voted, that either way, it's approved and we don't have to go back and change our minds. So I just wanna make sure the language in the article was consistent with whichever way we wanted to proceed. The money would stay the same, I think, as far as the commitment of 15,000, just depending on how we want to spend that 15,000. It might be more efficient to just borrow it and pay it off with that money for the year or whatever it is and then address it, or it might be more efficient to lease it. I just want to make sure the language covers it all.
You know, I know interest rates are low, but the lease charge, the interest was about $1.54 a month. What rate was that at? You remember on the lease? Were they offering?
I do not remember off the top of my head. No, it's
somewhere around.
Was around 3%, somewhere in that range. I can't remember the exact number, I think.
Okay. And Rich, what is our borrowing rates at?
Under 1.
Short term, under what? Okay.
Under 1,
No,
so.
it's not gonna make a major difference. Okay.
I don't know if it's something to just say for the purpose at the end of the article, the purposes of leasing or purchasing a police cruiser. That might just be part of it. I don't know if that language covers it, maybe from town council's end, but just depending whichever way we wish to go and proceed. Thank you much.
Thank you. Let me just make sure.
Okay.
Should we, Jonathan, you think we should add? Should we add the total
For Article 16 or 17?
for that article?
Which one?
For Article 16, should we have a total for the purchase of a police cruiser or for the lease of a police cruiser? I guess we can't really.
I mean, we have the $15,000 will cover the lease, and we have the cruiser revolving account that we can tap into if we need to offset that.
We don't need legally to put in the full 60 since we're probably gonna end up buying this out.
No, because this is just generally a transfer.
Okay, all right. All right, Article 17 is another combo article, fire and police. This is up to $280 for the purchase of the four cruisers and the fire chief's vehicle. So how is this broken down? You know, what do we prove, 60?
We approved 56.
56.
The cruiser and the chief's vehicle, they were both within a few thousand of each other, the 56 at the higher end.
All right, so about 56 apiece we're putting in?
Yeah.
For each. So basically, this gives us the authorization to put this on. We can pull if we have the money to buy the fire chief's vehicle in the spring, we can obviously pull this off and just leave this as potentially separate for the police cruisers? The amounts?
Well, no, because it depends on the source of funding you're assigning to it. This authorizes, the town meeting authorizes them to buy it, no matter what the source of funding is. You're authorized to buy it, so you can leave it intact.
Okay. And is it possible if we pull the fire truck, the fire vehicle off of this, if we're able to buy it cash, can he amend his 5-year plan to make this a 5-year police vehicle purchase?
I mean, we're not buying it for another 5 years, so I don't know what the price will be in 5 years.
Right.
We may wanna, I mean, we can do this again in 2 and get a better price. I think 5 might be a little far out for.
Yeah, I just wonder if we can bring the 280 back up. You know, let's say in the spring, we have enough to buy the command vehicle for the fire department.
Yeah.
And we don't need to put this on a debt exclusion. Can the chief amend his plan at
To
that
put
point?
another one on?
And include, can we amend it and include this and change this?
You would amend it, yeah, the capital improvement committee could add an additional
So
cruiser.
we can go 5 years out? That's
So we'd
kind
have
of-
to do another article to put it on. We couldn't bring it back up. Once it's voted, once it's done, it's done.
So an article, but you can bring an article up to change this, right, or amend it?
I'm sure we could figure out a way
Okay.
to add it to the,
Yeah.
I mean, you could add it in FY '27, you know.
That'd be great.
Sully'd be against it.
All right, is any questions for this one? Anybody?
No.
Good, Mike.
And then Article 21, which is a placeholder, is just that sample wording that I went over with CIP. I didn't have a chance to add it to the warrant.
Oh, that's the,
This paper right here that just shows the sidewalk issue.
yeah.
That hasn't even gone to town, final to town council yet, so.
Yeah, it's that's right. But that's the placeholder one. He's just talking about the spending articles right now.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to the other ones, right? So, this is the one with the sidewalks that got added in last minute.
So what are we on? What are you going back to?
Oh, he wanted to cover the spending articles first, which we did up to 17, and then to 21 is the last spending article before we go back to the other, planning board and stuff ones. Because we have to, that's the spending articles that we have to agree up to.
Okay, so what is this? What do we need to do on this one?
I just wanted to have to review it. It's the $400,000 spending on, up to $400,000 on construction for the sidewalks.
That's the one with the delay.
That's the one that MassDOT would reimburse for.
That's one capital improvement.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, correct.
So the spending article
21.
is 400, up to 400?
Up to $400,000.
And what about the engineering?
The engineering would be separate and covered with the federal funding.
So do we have to have an article for that, or?
No, we don't need an article for that. We only needed to put it on the capital plan.
Anybody have any questions on that? Looks like everybody wants that.
Nope. Good. So, Mr. Chairman, we'll go back to, what, 18, Jonathan, or was there one that we skipped over?
We skipped over one big one.
Oh,
Just delete 19, 18?
13. Which one do you want to do next?
I would like to just kind of ask a couple questions on 19 and 20 before we go back to that.
Right, do,
This is not happening. Mr. Chairman, Article 19 is going to be withdrawn.
withdrawn?
And Article 20 is a,
So there's 18, we have 13, 18, and 20.
And Article 20 is also going to be withdrawn.
It is?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. How
Is there
is
sti-
that?
are they still going through it? Is that why? Planning board not?
It's not lining up legally the way they want it.
Okay. Good to know. 18? Oh, right.
it looks like it was never allowed, right?
Yeah, they wanted, it sounds like,
Is that big self-storage?
yeah.
I was gonna say, you want a guy next to you doing that?
So we have,
Hillbilly moves
It's
in
shade
that.
shed, right?
Mike, we have 18 and 13.
What do we do?
18 and 13.
18. No, we did 18.
Did Jeff Faulkner?
No, we didn't.
No, that's 18.
This is, I mean, Article 18 is pretty straightforward, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if we have a final answer on it yet.
Yes,
We're
Scott's
still-
here.
Easement?
Yeah, as I understand it,
17 Fairview?
we got an opinion from town council that easements for public utilities are not, do not require a town meeting vote.
All right, so Article 18 will be withdrawn, right?
Well, it should be we're confirming it for a third time with town council, just to be absolutely sure, but
Okay.
that will probably be rescinded.
All righty. What else? I'm actually excited. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, I know, but now we can go back to
13?
we're out of the other stuff.
Yeah, 13, that's the last one. Go ahead, Mike.
All right, so.
Jonathan.
I'll let Jonathan explain this.
So, so you got a couple of hours. So we had a public hearing on this 2 weeks ago, Mr. Chairman?
You did?
And we had the developer here, we had council on both sides here, we had the Board of Selectmen.
The planning board.
It was televised, it was live streamed, and it was and it was recorded. So, this is a request to approve proposed tax increment financing plan known as the Webster Dudley French River District, UCH TIF plan. So this includes certain properties in and around the Stevens Mill District, on the other side of the river, including Webster, which specifically allows those property owners, the town to enter into a TIF agreement with those property owners if they so choose. It doesn't do anything, their status remains quo, except now they have a piece of TIFable property, which makes it more attractive to purchase and development. That's the first part of it. The other part of it, and I could go on for a long time if you have specific questions about it. It's probably easier for me to answer it. But we're asking for authorization for the Board of Selectmen to submit certified applications to the Commonwealth for approval, authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute the TIF agreement when we come to a resolution on that. Or take any other action relative there too. And I can say that we're at a point now that we've got we're still in negotiations, but we're going down the right path with the TIF agreement. We're getting close.
And, Mr. Chairman, I believe Webster Selectmen already agreed to put that
They already agreed
on
to
their
it.
warrant. Benefits both
Does
towns.
anybody have any questions in this, on the TIF zone?
Just comment that a lot of this information was already discussed, so
So.
hopefully everyone was
plead a
tuning
little-
in.
I'm gonna plead a little ignorance on this, so I didn't tune in, and I should've. Couple
Well,
of
you can always
questions.
catch up later.
Yeah, I
I mean,
can-
the questions were, as you'd expect,
So
we had to
it's
steer
fine.
back to the TIF. I mean, a lot of people wanted to know about
Alright.
the mill, right, as part of.
Well, I
the
was
TIF
here
district.
at the hearing,
Right.
so, but I didn't get a lot of, didn't seem like there was a lot of information.
Oh,
on
you
the
were
TIF
in
zone.
that.
Yeah, I was.
Well, Mr. Chair, that's not chair, what did the TIF encompass 61 total properties, not just the mill?
It's 61 total properties on either side of the river, and these properties are blighted and depressed. Some of them were wiped out by the tornado, some of them are underutilized, some of them are abandoned.
Right.
So it gives both towns the tool to enter into a TIF agreement to make it more attractive, obviously, for developers to come in. They get a negotiated tax break. Each TIF agreement is separate from the other, so it's not one size fits all. Whatever we get with Stevens
Right, it's all
Mill
separate.
will be Stevens Mill, whatever Webster agrees to.
So I guess my question is, we've written TIFs before, not in TIF zones, so what's the purpose of the zone? If we can individually take any of those property owners now and write an individual TIF. what
Because
is
if it's designated a TIF zone, everything that we've gone through with Stevens Mill and we're continuing to go through, it's all predetermined that the Commonwealth is gonna say, this is a TIF zone. You don't know, we don't need waivers, bylaw changes, attorneys, but you can go straight to the TIF because it's been pre-designated and qualified as a TIF zone.
And there's a lot of things we don't
So this is bypassing some red tape, is what you're saying?
A lot of red
A
tape.
lot of red tape.
Everything
You
is,
do it once instead of 52 times.
Okay,
And
so that's the
And there's
advantage.
a lot of things, like programs that we don't qualify for, what Webster does, but if you join the two, a distant, together,
Yeah.
that gets taken into consideration.
That's that urban center
Urban,
part that
correct.
the state recognizes, right?
and if you have that certain designation, you're,
So
you've
the
got
prime
great
benefit,
eligibility.
is to wipe out all the red tape of getting people on a building.
And-
No, you just do the red tape once.
Once.
There's lots of red tape, you just
Right.
do it once.
This represents one shot at the red tape instead of 61 times.
Gives the opportunity for people to improve the properties, more stuff to move in, businesses, like, think about extending Webster's downtown,
Right.
into Dudley, look,
But each TIF still has to be negotiated.
Correct.
No matter
Correct.
which way you go.
Yes.
It still has to be
Every
negotiated.
single one is a separate negotiation.
Is there any other benefits to the town for this, other than making, possibility of something?
One of the big benefits is if this is an approved TIF zone, everything within that zone becomes front and center for grant funding.
What kind of grant funding?
Mass Works, complete streets, anything that will fix up the infrastructure.
Falls into that, okay.
That falls into that. It goes right, it goes high on the list for the Commonwealth.
In TIF zones that I know about, it allows the town also, it's a legal structure, also allows the town to invest in private property to upgrade and help upgrade that. Does that do that? Does our TIF zone allow that?
Not like that.
I know it's done all over the place where you have a blighted area, the owner really
Yeah.
can't spend all the money to fix it up, has an idea, it's gonna invest, make it worth more money. The municipality comes in, puts in some money on their own to fix up the area, put in a walkway in front of the guy's property, whatever.
Yeah, but
Is
it's-
that eligible? Is that legal for us to
Any
do?
TIF agreement is eligible to do that. We could do that. The town can make an agreement to waive taxes, to reinvest
Okay.
money that otherwise would have been collected, or money that's collected for a certain period of time in taxes. They can assess certain betterments on the property, reduce taxes, there's a lot of different things you can do with it.
I guess my only concern was if it's the legal mechanism that allows the town to invest in private property, which you can't do right now unless it's like a betterment of a utility. If we can invest in private property, is there any way a private property owner can then come and request money and pull it out at a town meeting? In other words, well, they can write petitioner's article, they can't pull it out. That doesn't give them the legal structure to do that.
Come to the town meeting?
For example, let's just say this apartment building that we have put up down the road decides they're gonna put up a $500,000 gym and make it beneficial to anybody that lives in Dudley. Can they come here and say, hey, we need $100,000 from Dudley because this is a benefit for Dudley and the residents, and we don't have the money, then they supersede us and put a petitioner's article on the warrant to pull 100? Can they do that through this? I'm just,
A private petition to take where the heck did this come from?
I see it happen. I read all about it. It happens a lot where the private owner, because now they're in a zone, they're in a TIF zone. It's the legal document that allows the town or the municipality to invest in private ownership, so that private owner then tries to pull the money out of the town to do that. I guess this would be probably a better question for legal.
I suppose you could get any team of any.
I'm just looking
special
financially
interest
down the
account
road.
together.
I don't want,
Yeah.
the TIF zone, not that I don't pull the
Yeah.
TIF zone, I just don't want us to get pulled, down the road, some private owner pulls. Yeah,
I mean,
town meeting
any
pulls.
private owner can get 30 people together and really run the table. At that point,
So,
I will ask the specific question and make sure we're protected against that. I haven't heard of that before, but I'm happy to do that. And I will specifically ask the question to make sure that we're protected against that.
the other question I have on this one is, I know Webster has an opportunity zone. So they have one, we don't have one here. Is there a way of putting a TIF also to piggyback it with an opportunity zone? can we apply to
As
the
a-
state for this?
For an opportunity zone?
To
I
see,
think that's a federal. I
it
think-
is, I
yeah.
mean, and I know the governor goes around and he's opened up opportunity zones all over the state. Webster has one, but it seems like the whole, all Webster's opportunity zone butts up against, right up to this TIF zone. So is
So
there a way
opportun-
of collaborating with Webster to make this also an opportunity zone?
I could look into that
That's-
too. I don't know if, I mean, I think Webster has a more opportunity to have an opportunity zone because they have a Main Street. We really don't.
Yeah.
So it's, I think that's
Well,
all
I mean,
geared
is there a
towards,
way we can maybe,
you know,
because that, I mean, in itself, you know, that's, I mean, and Kerry would know all this about the,
Wow.
well,
Looping me in on this.
well, he knows about the capital, you know, capital gains, deferral and stuff on the opportunity zone. So that makes the attractiveness of this whole zone more attractive to bring in the private ownership. So
Certainly tax benefits.
we
He's
can
not
certainly look
incorrect.
into it, but I don't even know if we would qualify, because where would we designate it? That's the problem.
we designate the whole zone as an opportunity zone.
They usually look for like small, like storefronts, basically.
Should we send that through planning?
No, just for, I mean, for the future, I mean, if we're gonna designate this a TIF zone, we might as well attempt to make it an opportunity zone and really, and bring in the actual
See all
money.
the opportunities it already opens up for us?
So,
I think it gets us there, the path, puts us on the path for that, though, I believe.
And an opportunity zone doesn't cost us a penny.
no,
Not a penny.
we have, you know, between
Someone
our
else's-
state reps and
Yep.
and our state senator, we might be able to get something like that.
We've been leaning on it pretty hard lately, Mr. Chairman.
Remember that red tape? Yeah.
And the only other question is this definitely meets, I mean, everybody, the meeting I heard, it kept talking about 10% low-income housing.
Not low income,
So
It's not
how does it,
low-income.
low income.
I'm not low,
Affordable.
affordable, excuse me.
Big
affordable.
difference.
Big difference.
So how does that, I mean, how, do we qualify under that? Does the TIF language doesn't have that in it. It says
It's in our bylaws already.
It's in the bylaw
Yeah.
now, the 10%.
10%'s already in the bylaws. What we did last year was, we wanted to add a tool to the toolbox, so we asked for the ability for an applicant to submit to waive that affordable requirement. But it's already in our bylaw.
All right, just, sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't pay
yeah,
attention
no,
earlier.
no, it's-
Just questions.
No, good to talk about.
One real simple question. It says in the bylaw, it's gotta be, with two towns, it's gotta be contiguous,
It's contiguous.
even if a river divides it all?
Yeah, there's a bridge.
That works. That's my only questions. Anybody from FAA have any questions at all?
None.
Okay. All right, so, seeing no other questions, we've gone through everything, then I'll close the public hearing at 9:03. And move on to recommendations. So,
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned capital improvement stabilization for Article 16 and 15. I'm just saying this so that if a motion comes, we make note of that. And we're gonna withdraw 19, 20, and 18, so you don't need any action on that.
okay.
And 18, you said?
And 18.
We don't need a recommendation on Article 1 and 2, I don't believe. So, we have Article 3 is to pay the unpaid bills from a prior year, $5,550, water and sewer. Does anybody from FAA have a motion on this?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve Article 3 as written.
Second.
Second, okay. Is there any more discussion on this article at all? All right, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Article 3, FAA recommends. All right, Article 4 is the unpaid bills of the Selectmen in the amount of $10,580.79. Anybody like to make a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Article 4 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on this? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, FAA recommends Article 4. Article 5 is the supplemental budget. Is there a motion on this one?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve Article 5 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? FAA recommends Article 5. Article 6, let's see, Town Administrator, Town Clerk, Departmental Transfer, $5,700. Is there a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve Article 6 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, FAA recommends Article 6. Article 7 is the Highway Department transfers. What was the total amount here? I'm sorry, what was that?
There was a couple of things in there.
All right, so transfers of $1,299 from the online services account, $1,319 from the VPN licenses, $2,399 from the help desk account, and $5,017 transfer to the stormwaters dams account. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
The total amount was $5,017. Is there a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept Article 7 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Article 7, FAA recommends. Article 8 is the fire department. This is transfer of some money to the, let me see, $2,331.84 to account the fire chief in the sum of $1,713.40 from the wage study grant to the assistant fire chief's account. Motion on this?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we accept Article 8 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, FAA recommends. Article 9, this is town administrator and police. It's a transfer of $10,000 from free cash, and let me see, and $20,000 from the agent salary account, $7,243 from the wage study grant, and $756.80 from cybersecurity, all to the lieutenant salary account, in the total amount of, I believe, $38,000 change. Anybody have that number there?
It's
It looks like
38,000.
$38,000, right?
Yes.
Straight. Does anybody want to make a motion here?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, to accept Article 9 as written.
All right. Is there any is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None, FAA recommends. All right, Article 10. This is the combined article for the treasurer and clerk, the amount of $3,224.81 to the town clerk's salary, and $5,762.20 to the treasurer's salary. Did I get that correct? Or backwards, I'm sorry, it's backwards. $3,224.81 to the treasurer collector, and $5,762 to the town clerk. Sorry, Rich, I was trying to give you a raise there. Motion on this? Article, the way it's written?
Mr.
Chairman, I make a motion to accept Article 10 as written.
All right, is there a second?
Second?
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? And then, he recommends. Article 11, is Town Administrator. This is a transfer of free cash of $20,000 to account operating expenses. And a transfer of free cash of $20,000 to the grant project design, total of $40,000. Is there a motion on this?
Chair, I make a motion to accept Article 11 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None, they recommend. Article 12 is a transfer of $15,000 from free cash to the FAA Reserve Fund. Is there a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept Article 12 as written.
Second? Second. Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on this? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? All right, Article 13 is the TIF zone. Board of Selectmen's warrant article. Do we have a motion? Do we need a motion? This is a financial instrument. Actually, it's not really financial.
Sets up the potential financial instrument, right?
Right. Certainly love the FAA's.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would say, like, positive recommendation would be nice.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept Article 13 as written.
Is there a second on this?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the TIF zone?
Question, Mr. Chair? Is the, to your members and you, is your acceptance of the motion also your positive endorsement at town meeting? Like, for example, would chairman get up and say,
You mean
FAA voted,
You might be sandbag, is that what you're saying?
well, no, that's where a majority of FAA supports this TIF article, as opposed to just accepting it?
No discussion on it. I can call a vote, and we can see.
Well, but the motion didn't read positive endorsement.
Well, all these motions will
Just
be
say FAA
written up as
recommend.
recommend. The chairman will say, I recommend to approve, right? He will second it, but then
You can get up and say,
we want to make sure that it's a whole, I mean, not even for this article, just in general, when it's discussed, we'd like to have the FAA to approve it. I mean, potentially adding $2 million over the course of 20 years to the tax base, so,
on a $45 million project,
a $45 million project
on a dilapidated building.
that will fix our infrastructure and keep the children safe and warm.
That's why I asked the questions.
Okay?
And in conjunction with
Right.
the Safe Street grant, will improve that neighborhood.
I know the treasurer wholeheartedly approves of it, all, supports it.
Questions?
Oh, no, we're gonna revisit Article 10, to have that same blessing at town meeting.
Questions or answers, please, Okay, so we have a second on this? Did we get a second on this?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this? Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, FAA recommends Article 13 fully,
And when you're done, Mr. Chairman, looking,
unanimously.
when you're done watching what Nichols is gonna help us put together in terms of getting the public information out there and what a good thing this is gonna be for Dudley, you're gonna have to hold you in your seat. You won't be able to say enough about it. You're gonna love it.
Great. I'm looking
I
forward
don't
to
think
it.
we could hold him in his seat.
Yeah, good luck with that anyway.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's not gonna watch it.
I tried.
Belts and duct tape.
All right, we're at Article 14, Highway Department. This is the brine machine, $110,000. This is article to raise, appropriate, borrow, and transfer from available sums, $110,000.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept Article 14 as written.
Okay, is there any second on this?
Second.
Any discussion on this? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, seeing none, pass. What do you recommend? Article 14. Article 15 is the authorization to purchase for the highway department, the buildings and grounds trucks, amended to 50,000. Is that what you did? The article is to raise, appropriate, borrow, and transfer from available sums. Does anybody want to make a motion here?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept Article 15 with the amendment of $50,000 to transfer the fund from Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund with the remaining as written.
All right, so we have a motion to pass out, a motion to pass Article 15, the amount of $50,000 being paid for out of Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund. This would require 2/3 vote. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that?
Question, Mr. Chair? Sure. So maybe the treasurer can help answer. So this would limit the purchase funds only from capital improvement? There's no other mechanism to fund it?
Because we have.
It was always thought that a lease was the end around for the purchase of a vehicle. If you had enough money to go through and purchase it.
This is the building and grounds truck.
Oh, I thought we were the
No.
15. Okay, excuse me. The question?
Question is, we move money out of, the motion is to move money from capital improvement stabilization to pay for this truck now.
Yeah.
So that means if it passes, there's no other source of funding. I mean,
If it fails.
I mean, you can't come back and say, well, we're gonna buy the truck, but we're gonna transfer money from planning board expenses.
We'll come up with 5.
You need authorization.
Right, but
So,
the article restricts it to one course of
and it
action.
fails, then you'd need a second article or,
Or another, to wait another year.
yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna come up anyway.
I think the language should be looser, that's all. Mr. Administrator.
Well, we're passing the article as raise, appropriate, borrow, transfer, from available funds. Can you add? State capital, including capital improvement stabilization to that?
Would the picture look a little different when you had a solid free cash number and you know what you were doing? I mean, you could, on the town meeting floor, you can always go through, I recommend that this dollar amount comes from the capital improvement stabilization, requires a 2/3 vote. The moderator raises his hand and reminds everybody the importance of it, or you can just get the authorization to borrow it.
So basically.
Well, you
leave
can
the article.
motion, like Rich, I agree with Rich, you just motion whatever the source of funding you want it to be.
Yep, all right, so it's just, that'd be just our recommendation on the floor.
Right.
Is with the source of funding.
Okay.
Okay, so, does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, just one question. Is that gonna since it's going from capital improvement, is that gonna need a 2/3 vote?
2/3 vote.
Yes. Is there any more discussion on that motion? No. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No opposed, all right, we're buying a truck.
If it passes.
Yeah, it passes. No, it's gonna pass. All right, Article 16 is to the leasing of a police interceptor. First lease payment up to $15,000. This would be also a transfer from capital improvement stabilization account. Is there any motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept Article 16 as written.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Somebody wants to go home.
Nobody doesn't.
That wasn't the motion to adjourn.
It's close.
I'm waiting for that one.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion on this at all? No. All right, see none, I'll call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
14.7,
None? All right, we're getting a police cruiser.
Pass.
All right, so this is a combination, Article 17 for police and fire equipment. This is the amended 5-year plans for starting fiscal year 2023 to debt, I didn't even say that, debt exclude, no? To raise, borrow, transfer from available funds up to $280,000 for 4 cruisers and 1 fire chief vehicle, as approved by capital improvement. Is there a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve Article 17 as written.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
We transferred it to his account.
Good. Hold on. 18, 19, and 20 would be withdrawn.
Right.
And 21 is the,
Mr. Chairman, don't adjourn yet. Please, just keep going. We might maybe have one more thing to add. Somehow.
okay, so
Later, I might
Who's
take
seconded,
it
I'm
off.
sorry.
We have a-
Who seconded that?
John. So, we kind of call this Article 21 here, or?
Yeah, the one with the sidewalks, Jay, right?
Yes, 21.
Okay. You have this?
Yes, sir.
This is the article to approve $400,000 in the Complete Streets project for the sidewalk on number 2 and number 3 rankings. It's by Mason Road up to Delaney Ave. This is grant funded, hopefully, right?
Yep.
All right, do we have a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept Article 21 as written.
Is
Yeah.
this the language?
Yeah, that's gonna be the motion, right?
Yep.
Okay. We want to say draft article written, or? No, doesn't matter. Is that good?
I'm sorry.
The
You
article
wanna call
itself?
it article
or-
or draft article?
Let's call it let's vote on it as an article.
All right. So we have a motion to approve that article, which would be
21.
so far 21, and $400,000 for this Complete Streets project. Is there a second on that? Anybody?
Second.
Okay, we got a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? Look at that.
Hold on here.
Okay. Jonathan, you have anything else you wanna?
Yeah, we're missing a whole vehicle here, Mr. Chair.
Missing a vehicle?
Yeah. You see that anywhere? Or did it not make it into the file?
The foreman's truck.
We approved the
We
foreman's
approved
truck,
that.
we're gonna transfer the money into,
We got the building and grounds truck was,
yeah, that was gonna be debt excluded, but we changed that, but we still don't have the foreman's truck on here.
the foreman's truck was how much, 40?
41.
41? Or what did we approve from capital improvement, do you remember?
40? Remember it was 50, it was
40.
90, right?
And the prices changed.
All right.
Jeff, what's that, 250, 350? F-250 with a plug. Price is up $1,000 on the difference.
Let me make sure we didn't miss it here.
Article 22 then.
I transferred the money into the highway account to pay for it, I don't see it in there.
Where did you transfer money
Well,
from?
you think I remember? That's why. How do we fix this tonight? You already approved it through CIP.
It was.
Yeah. Why don't we put it on, can I add it as an article and then put it on, and then we'll specify the source of funding when I get it figured out?
Yes. So we have recommended,
I'll give it a backtrack and figure out what happened to that.
so Article 22? Yep.
And part of the motion will be when we fix the numbering, let it go through town council, like, this is approved as written, but without changing the premise of the article. It'll be, all these articles are gonna end up getting tweaked
Yeah,
like they
we just
usually
need to put a placeholder for it.
Yeah.
So you need to, FAA needs to approve the approved by CIP.
Right, but we approved it at 40, you're saying it's 41. Change that.
No,
Same
they'll
as
make it
before.
work like it did the 50.
All right, so,
Somebody wanna make a motion for that?
Yes.
let me explain this to FAA members first.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, capital improvement, back in the fall, approved the foreman's truck for the highway department. Upwards of, we approved up to $40,000. And we also approved up to 50 for the building and grounds truck. So we just passed the building and grounds truck to be bought, but apparently the $40,000 foreman's truck didn't make it.
It did, I just don't, I mean,
So
somehow it got dropped out of the,
So we need to kind of add that in.
it's gonna be a transfer into the highway equipment account. That's how it was, I don't know what happened to it.
So source of funding
cash.
on that one was free cash?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I was getting nervous with the buying the other one too, but.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't
It
even
was
see that
making-
on there. I
in the
didn't,
back of my
I
head, I'm
assumed
like-
that went by the wayside.
All week long, I'm saying there's something missing.
All right, we'll figure it out. Well, if I have permission to add that as an article, for up to.
Do you want a motion from the FAA first to make sure it's there?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 22, to approve the foreman's truck, in the highway department, that has been approved by the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, up to $40,000, transferring into the highway account from free cash.
Could you not specify the source of funding though? Just approve the article and then
Yeah.
you can move the source of funding when I'll call direct.
I'd like to amend it by withdrawing the source of funding.
Okay.
Just to be on the safe
Yeah,
side.
he'll be able to fix it based on this.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion to approve the $40,000 foreman's truck without a source of funding yet. All right. Is there a second on this?
Second.
Okay. All right. John, I saw that little, is there any discussion then?
We can settle it right now if you have a
Yeah.
few more minutes. Happy to do
Might as
it.
well do it in discussion.
Stabilization of free cash. I prefer free cash.
Yeah.
Well, just
Because I
doing
can
the
always
math
say
on
no.
your numbers,
The
I
wor-
would say
the
free
worst
cash.
case scenario, I just won't buy it like usual, but I would say free cash. We'll have the room.
It's just an approval. If the math doesn't work, they're not gonna do
Yeah,
it.
you can't just buy something without any.
So, source of funding coming from free cash. But not in the motion. We'll figure it out when we get.
Jonathan's gonna
How
go
about
through and,
Who knows, somebody may hit a lottery ticket.
Don't stew about it, ask the
on
questions.
five, on 5.2B, it gives Jonathan the opportunity to fix all this stuff, so it'll be in there when, on game day. So just to make you guys feel a little better about that. He'll have all that in there. It'll be all nice.
It'll be in the form, right, it'll come through as a transfer into the highway equipment account so he can purchase the truck. Source of funding will be determined in free cash. As long as everybody's okay with that. If you don't love it, you don't have to motion it. If we don't have the money, I ain't gonna buy it.
Any other discussion on this? Okay. Should we take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? All right.
All right. so you guys can want one.
So,
Close the whole thing out. Deb's sitting right next to me, and I don't.
Jonathan, does
Did
he
I
have
close
to, does he have, yeah, you did.
I gotta
No, you
gotta
already-
close it?
No, you did. We couldn't vote otherwise. Does he need to, does he need to adjourn the FAA meeting? We'll have to keep going, or?
We'll make sure we got everything we need to do here.
Stand by.
It's hard for me to concentrate because Mr. Sigenovich won't keep talking. Stop talking, will you? Board of Selectmen votes to approve warrants presented. You can close, I mean, you can close this meeting, I think we, unless, no, because there's a discussion if you wanna.
Oh, yeah, I
If we
see
need
it.
another
Yeah, yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
we can do that. So if
All right.
everybody's more comfortable, we can do another meeting for that one.
Yeah, hold on, let's, the Selectmen, let's dispose of 5-2B. Board of Selectmen votes to approve warrant as presented, authorizing the TA to make changes to form in conjunction with the town council legal review that do not substantially change the intent of the Board of Selectmen or FAA or take any other action relative thereto. Board members?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Unanimous. Okay, next up, co-chairs, Mike and I, will discuss and determine it is necessary to schedule another joint meeting on October 4th to take up any business listed but not covered, listed but continued, or listed but not decided on this agenda. Without objection, Board of Selectmen Chairman directs TA to schedule a meeting as decided. Mike, do you feel, I think we approved them all, I think just the fact that a bunch of those get canceled, taken off, the planning board ones, I think, so I'll let you decide if you wanna have another meeting.
I don't foresee us having to meet again until the actual,
Right before, like
right,
we usually
we
do.
usually meet, you know, about 30 minutes before the actual town meeting. We can meet if we have to defer on any source of funding or anything, we can do it there, do it at that point.
All right, so without objection, we will not schedule another meeting, Jonathan, on October 4th? All
Thank-
people.
Yep. Thank you for your 3 hours straight of budget talking patience.
Oh, that's why we do it, right?
3 hours straight.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And then the next one is, did we do this at the beginning? Capital Improvement Planning Committee, vote to amend April 14, 2021 minutes due to Scrivener's error? We did that one already, right? So that's done.
So what's next?
Number 6, Carrie. Oh, hi, Carrie.
No TA report on the department head? Not on the agenda.
No, we can't.
Wow. Whatever happened to, no meeting goes by without a TA report? Guess that doesn't work.
Are you serious?
Well, it's not even listed.
Huh?
Not even listed.
Did you want me to add, anybody want me
Item
to add my
number 6,
TA report to
item
this?
number 6 is adjournment.
Board member comments not listed.
I just gave you 3 hours of my.
If we met every other week, the meetings on, every week, the meetings be an hour and a half.
Oh.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Sigenovich. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Where's that student rep?
I haven't heard.
He graduated.
You get one
Still
every
waiting
year.
for a new
It's like
appointment.
Christmas.
I ran into, what's his face?